Ding dong. Hi, are you here? Hi, good morning. I'm so sorry. You don't see Jim? Where's Jim? Where's Jim? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I have... Oh, they were just playing bells. God damn it. It's going to be such a perfect... Hi, Jane. Hi, Neil. I hope you're still here. Pauline, I hope you're here. Life is... Live to see another day, Neil. Live to see another day. What's that line from All the Stars in it's a Kendrick Lamar and I call her SZA. I hope that I don't know how you say her name. SZA. Good morning, Badger. How are you, darling? But I'm a little froggy this morning. I got to be honest. I'm not entirely sure what's going on, but here we go. It's Pick a Pope. Okay, well, I don't know what that is. I want your freaking closed captions. I don't want to hear what you're saying. Just show me the picture, damn it. Oh, I see. There's volume on it. Oh, wait. I need the volume because if they play the bells. Let me go back to the bell part. Bells. Waiting for brisket? Popecella. Oh, man. They had the bells, and I probably fucked that up. And a lot of bells. All right, wait. 6:30? They must do something in...
India.
Pope, we're going to choose a pope. Good morning. Butterflies! Hi, baby. Paulina, good morning, darling. Oh, yeah. Good morning. What's going on with chat? What's going on here? Woohoo! Yeah. I have not. I'm gonna go there and I'm just gonna make an appointment in person. You know what I mean? Like, not do the phone. I have a lot. I definitely need to see my doctor. I have a couple things now that I need to really get addressed. But oh yeah, go choose a pope. Give me all that wafer. Yeah. Hi, cheers. Cheers. How easily distracted. Amen. Good morning, Jane and Teresa. Popecella. Oh my God. I know I missed you too, butterflies. Oh yeah. Those Cardinals? I was expecting the St. Louis Cardinals. Oh, it's a good one, Neil. Good one, Neil. It's hot. Oh yeah, let's go choose a pope. Oh yeah, please give us. Oh, don't give us that guy. Good morning, Lee. We're just singing along with Popecella. Yeah, that's right. Go get her. Oh, we should. Gal should prepare a drawing for this. Oh, Gloria, please help us choose a pope. I know, right? Let's go Pizza Bella. Pizza Baller. I need a beat. Place your bets on the next pope. Odds are great. Right? Oh, I'm digging the hot pink. Okay, can we just talk about this for a minute? I don't know who these guys are, but I'm all over that hot pink robe. Fuck yeah. Let's go Tagley, nicknamed Cheeto. All right. I don't know who's my favorite. I honestly thought Pizza Balla was a restaurant. Well, it is. And it's a pope. Pizza Balla. It's a it's a restaurant and a pope. There you go. It's a floor wax and a dessert topping. Every cardinal is a long shot. Good morning, Teresa. I Neil, leaf, butterfly, chain badger. Who did I miss? Yes. Oh. I'm sorry. I really like to sing. Oh, the fashion. Oh, work, cover girl. Put that face in your walk. Good morning, gal. Cover girl. Put that face in your walk. Da da da. Da 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 da. Pizza baller. Ooh. How to choose a pope. Oh my God, they have a book? How to choose a pope for dummies? What? What? As little John would say, what? I can't do Little John. I'm sorry, Little John. They gave the odds on the next pope on WGN Morning News. Turn down for what? Oh my God, I love that song. I need more Little John. Turn down for what? Oh yeah, I got more gold on my uniform than you do. Turn down Popecella for what? Here we are in our really expensive robes, and we are of the most pious nature. Good morning, gal. If I didn't say your name, say my name. Say my name. Oh yeah, it's Pope. Hey, who left their cane on the floor? Somebody's gonna trip over that. The hell, everybody's 95,000 years old in there. The hell are you doing leaving a cane on the floor? Haggard, good morning. Yeah, they look silly. Yes, except for the purple guys in the front down here. Oh, hell yeah, I'm all over this one. Oh, no, they missed them. Okay, the guys in the purple, though, or like the hot pink. Oh, fuck yeah, all day long. Love that. Absolutely love that. Oh, yeah, that's right. That happened earlier. I wanted to get the bells ringing, but the Vatican sucks. Sorry.
Basically locked in. That's where the word conclave comes from.
Oh, here we go. Wait, I want to hear this girl. She's a great accent. She's a great accent. Where are you, honey? You are really what I want to hear. Wait, where are you? Where'd you go? What happened? Where'd you go? Okay, fine.
Apple. And it will either be black, and that means that they have not reached a decision. They haven't had enough votes. They require 2/3 majority for the new pope. And in that case, they will gather again tomorrow morning and go through as many rounds
Migos is one of my top artists of all time.
2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, again, as needed until they reach that 2/3 majority. Or it is also possible
Jane's
there
got
will
it.
be white smoke. And what that will mean
Haggard,
is
you
that, yes,
stop this.
there is a new pope. That, by the way...
Haggard, you are a goofy goof, and I love you, but you cannot be... I'm going to give you this money back. I'm going to give you this money back. You realize that, right? You are such a goofy goof, but you know what? I'm going to give you a song. Hold on, let's find a song. That's not it. Yes! Here we go! Yeah, you are such a beautiful love. Make the fun times last down Lolo's Lounge. AP, Neil. Lolo's Lounge. The best damn friends in the whole damn town. Oh. Haggard! Rocking around the lounge, shutting the fascists down, finding the facts so fast we make the fun times last at Lolo's Lounge. Lolo's Lounge, the best damn friends in the whole damn town. Thank you, Haggard. You're such a love. You're lovely. Love friend. Love friend. Now we can go back to listening to Popecella. Damn it, that show said that's for... Wait, what? Damn it, show said that's for... Wait. Do you loungers have a particular preference for the Pope? Whoever J Rance wants, I want. Whoever J Rance knows the Catholic tea more than anybody I know. So I am always, I will pick whoever J. Rance wants. That's it. All day long. I got a boogie in my hips. Well, be careful with those hips, baby, because they don't lie. I love that song too, Paulina. Even though it's like a whatchamacallit, it's like it is an AI generated song. I wrote the lyrics, but I didn't sing it. And those maybe I'll record it. The Italian guy would be my choice. Isn't there like 3 Italian guys? Am I wrong about that? I thought there was like 3. Maybe not. Voting for a pope, abandoning all hope. Will Sue say ciao bella to Pope Cella? We'll see. We'll see. It's like the Real Housewives of the Vatican. That's right. That's what I'll create. The Real Housewives of the Vatican. I'm sure someone's already done it, so I'm always late. But anyway, what's this chick saying?
Is when you will be seeing again St. Peter's Basilica.
Pietro, Secretary of State.
So let me try to get you
the cabana theme is perfect.
around here and around what you.
Oh, Teresa, I love you
on
too,
the cameras
sweetheart.
That we have
oh
set
my gosh,
up live, and what you might be seeing also behind me. So right behind me, you see the columns. That's the famous colonnato. It's a
I've been up there.
bunch, hundreds, literally, of very large columns. They're placed in a semicircle right around St. Peter's Square.
No, I'm not.
St. Peter's Square, of course, is right in front of St. Peter's.
But I was on top of that building over there with all the statues.
Back in the 4th century, over the tomb.
You can go there
Peter,
during the tours. I didn't get anything
first
special.
Of the apostles of Jesus and the one who is considered the first pope. Then in
I defer. all my Popecella goes to J. Rance.
The construction of the new Renaissance enormous basilica that you see today was
he knows what the church needs. I want J. Rance to be pope.
Popes. One interesting fact.
She would be the best pope.
Probably see a balcony.
She doesn't have time to be pope, but she would be the best pope.
After the white
microphone's so weird.
We will be seeing.
So yeah, I think J. Rance should be the pope. That's my vote.
So you will be seeing that happening once
J. Rance for pope.
White smoke. So watch for that facade again.
God.
Now, I've been mentioning the Sistine Chapel, which is where the conclave actually happens, where the cardinals will be locked in, where they're going to process in.
I like my popes to make great memes. Yeah, butterfly. I'll pick the one Max said.
Just to the right and kind of behind.
Excellent. We should have a.
It's where the chimney.
We should have a fun little bet.
It's also
we should do a
familiar
poll.
To many of you probably from the
we should do a poll. How long will it take?
Of frescoes that Michelangelo painted on both
How long
the
will
ceiling
it take?
and the main altar wall.
Who will be the Pope? Who will be the Pope Extreme? The Pope Supreme.
Cardinal electors, the top hierarchy of the Catholic Church, the ones who are under 80, because above 80 they're not allowed to vote.
Wow.
And in this year's conclave, they are the
it's going to be some weird-ass guy, Jane.
Geographically in history, hailing from 71 countries. One more thing
it's going to be some wackadoodle.
That's not necessarily
Pope off.
Church law.
That's right.
They have been picking for the last few centuries.
Popes, you've made it to the final round of the Pope race. Welcome. I think that now, popes, you're going to have to lip sync for your lives. Don't fuck it up. For all my drag race friends. Don't be a transphobe. Don't be a transphobe, RuPaul. But anyways. Okay. Here we go. Oh, just reading that Greer and Mrs. Beasley are going to Switzerland. Oh, yeah, that's a great idea.
You will see
going to Switzerland?
Chapel
oh, what could go wrong?
Come out as Pope.
Yes, so conclave. We watched it last week.
From
Paul.
Multiple cameras around the Vatican.
We did. We got caught up with our popeism.
People are beginning to gather in St. Peter's
conclave
Square
lipstick battle. Yes, you better work.
And we will be back once
you better work.
The doors have been locked.
Have a girl.
And the conclave
put that bass in your walk. Because if you aren't gonna love yourself, how in the hell do you expect anyone else to love you? I don't know how she says actually. Can I get an amen? I've been watching a lot of Drag Race recently. We should create our own Pope bet. Winner gets bragging rights. I agree easily. We're doing it. I'm gonna create it. I need some Swing that cape, make your whole body talk. Holy body talk. God, gal, you're good. You're fucking writing this libretto this morning. I fucking love it. Cover girl. Popey Pope. Put that bass in your walk. Popey Pope, put that Jesus in your walk. I partied with RuPaul and in New York. Oh shit. That's it, girl. That's the end all be all. That is it. You did it. That's it. Blue steel, Paul. That would be fun. That would have been fun. How about the Isabella Rossellini character stare with emotion? Hell yeah, Paul Langan. Max Flower mic drop. Boop. That's awesome. God, I love it. Your background, Max, is fucking awesome. I totally wish we had grown up together because we would have been immense trouble. Immense trouble. Probably not. Maybe not. Anyway, making David Lynch proud from the afterlife. Yes, absolutely. Did a beautiful. I love Isabella Rossellini. I mean, she could do anything, and I would watch her. I would definitely watch her. Anyway, yeah. So this is the conclave. There's no smoke yet. Did they all walk in? Did they get locked in yet? Turns out we lived within blocks of each other more than once. I know, Max. I know. Which is fucking ridiculous. Oh, gal, I partied with Bianca Del Rio and Nola at Oz, where One Eye worked. Oh, worlds collide. Worlds collide. Worlds collide. Oh, Don't Go to the Show was with you. Oh, what a nice memory. Love her. I love her. I love her. I love her. I love her. That's so sweet. That's so sweet. That is so sweet. Oh my goodness. All right. When do the popes actually do their talent portion? When's the talent portion of the popeism? Popecella. When's the talent portion? I shot pool. Okay, I'm loving these stories. I need everybody's celebrity close encounters. Okay, if you have a celebrity close encounter, I need to know about it. All right. Here we go. Paul Langan, I shot pool with Graham Nash when he played at Cornell. Well, that's pretty fucking awesome. Did you guys talk about music at all, or did you just kind of like party? Was it just kind of like that? Cover girl. Popey Pope. J-Rance, I'm glad you're here. We have a request. J-Rance, you better get over to that conclave because I think they need you. I voted for you for Pope. First of all, I said I'm picking whoever J-Rance wants because she knows more than anyone about the church. And then I just decided, no, I think I need you just to be Pope. Is that okay? I have a terrible story about Charles Barkley. He shoved his tongue down my throat at a bar, and then his assistant gave me his card to call the meetup. Ew! Ew! But gal, crazy. But ew! I don't want anyone putting their tongue down my throat. I can't even imagine. I mean, I can, but I just don't want to anymore. I like a nice little... I don't need all that stuff. Apparently. That's nice. Easily, what'd you say? Hubby jammed with Jerry Garcia in Colorado? That's fucking awesome. Easily. Oh my god. Oh my god. Gal, I told him I used to collect your basketball cards when I was 8. Oh my god. Ew. Ew, ew, ew. Yeah, I believe in you, J-Rance. No, you don't have to go be Pope. It's all right. But yeah, oh my god, you guys have had some pretty intense, like, look at the bird. Put a bird on it. You've had some pretty intense encounters. Let's see. Yeah, I have too many stories. I know you have actually had a much weirder life than you might. That entirely counts. Are you kidding me, Teresa Carter? I got drunk with George Strait. Does that count? Are you? That might win. I think that might win. What did George Strait sing again? Because I like George Strait, actually. He has a good voice. Had a good voice, I guess. Yes. You're so crazy. You're a crazy nut. We probably also wouldn't have been. We probably all also wouldn't have been. We would have been locked up, I'm sure, if we grew up together. Yeah, Bird said, fuck it. I'm out. They haven't chosen a pope. I'm out. I'm out. I'm looking for popes here. Cardinals said to vote to elect a new pope, and what are they going to do? Who are they going to elect? Oops. I didn't want to do that. I 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 want to do that. Yeah. My quiz said Cardinal Aguilar, but I didn't understand all the questions on the quiz. I know who we don't want, Burke or Sarah. Is it Sarah or Sarah? I don't even. It might be Sarah. I'm making too fancy out of it. I don't know why. I don't know why I did that. Just ignore me. The last 4 conclaves took 2 days. Oh shit! Really, J Rance? That's some interesting trivia. Oh my god, we should have papal trivia this weekend. Friends and I hung out with drummer from Foo. There you go, Jane. Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. I have not actually had like an encounter where I like get drunk with a celebrity or yeah, I haven't really that. What's the best guess for the Pope chosen name? Oh my god, Paul Langan, we have so much. I think I should just make that a tiny side window. I think you're absolutely right. I'm just going to check what's on for this morning because I know I've got some things lined up. Actually, I think I have a few things lined up that are really disturbing. Okay, so this is what we've got this morning, okay? Let me tell you what we've got this morning. I was thinking that too. J for Pope. That's right. We already voted. Innocent. I know. Gonna be a while? Well, you know. Yeah, it will. It's not gonna be today. I mean, unless it's really stacked. I plead innocent the 5th. Neil. Teresa, wait. I dated his best friend and went to Plenty and participated in roping and free backstage concerts. Wow. Oh my god, Teresa. You're like a badass. Oh my god. That's like legit. That's like legitimate. I love it. My sister dated the saxophone player for John Lee Hooker. Does that count? I got to meet him. He's great. Actually, he was great. He passed away, unfortunately. But he was wonderful, an amazing artist. What are the Mason group of souls? What's that mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? Scoot some boot. That's right. Oh, Teresa, I can imagine. Oh my god, I can only imagine. Urban cowboy. It counts, yeah. What name do you think, J. Rance? Something related to the poor again or immigrant, I think. What are those names beside Francis? Jesus. Let's see, that'd be a good one. Pope Jesus. I think someone should just do that and say, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going for the gold. These birds really like the roof. If it's a conservative pope, it might be plus. Oh, pious. Plus. One of the really good singers on American Idol used to be a dancer at an all-male strip club, and he was equally a good dancer and singer. Well, there you go. Can he be pope? Paul Langan, Yeshua. Yeah, exactly. Jane, not pious again. The new and improved Pope Pius. Not like the other one. It's true. Some of the Pope names are like poison now. Right? Raymond Burke. I know. He's the bad one. He's the Opus Dei guy, right? Mr. Burke. But Brent Allpress promised us that he wasn't going to win. Okay? Freemason. Who's a Freemason? Is there a Freemason in there? Ooh, Neil, that's a good question. Who is Trump's pick? I don't know. Him. I'm not himself. Okay, wait. I got to tell you this. Here's what we have for this morning. I need your opinion. Okay, hold on. This morning we have what is today? What's today? The 7th? Yeah. Okay, this morning we have oh man, where is everything? Oh shit. Okay, hold on. We have a budget hearing on the U.S. Department of Energy. We have a budget hearing on the U.S. Department of Agriculture. We have... Oh, this is live now? Protecting Our Edge, Trade Secrets, and the Global AI Arms Race. Anybody have a preference? Let's see. Boop, 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 boop. We have... Well, those start at 8 a.m. They don't start right away. So that's what we have for 7 a.m. Wait, let me make sure. Nothing is in order. Can they do it in order of... Can you sort by... Oh, shit. Well, that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. For crying out loud. They won't sort your playlist things by... when they're gonna come on live. Okay, 5-8, 5-7. So Department of Energy, Department of Agriculture. There's this one. What's going on here? Oh, they're not even starting. Okay, so there's the Protecting Our Edge, Trade Secrets, and the Global AI Arms Race. I kind of want to watch that one. It's the what is it? It's the judiciary. Hold on, I'll show you. Hold on. Hold on to my love. What's the background in Brent A? He was a CNP member before it went wacko. He has a wealth of info. No, he's just a... I can't remember what Brent's background was. I have to think about that. I have to think about what his background was, because he wasn't part of the CNP. He just researched them for both the... people you may know. He was involved in the Cambridge Analytica exposure and documented that. So I think of him more as a journalist, kind of journalist researcher, if that makes sense. But I think he might have other credentials that I'm not giving due attention. So I remember a comedian in the early 70s named Ralph Pope. He'd start his set with I'm Ralph Pope, no relation. That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. Okay. My Dem primary mail-in ballot arrived. So many no candidate filed. Gosh, Max, I am so sad about that. I'm so sad that we don't have enough Democratic people to run locally. That was such a mistake. I mean, I don't really love the blame game, but I will say that one of the strategic things that I think the Democrats didn't do was really focus on local races. We didn't focus on that. And we didn't make sure that there was always a solid Democratic candidate, and we didn't call out, or support loudly enough the calls about, oh, yes! Oh, gal, I'm so happy! Yes, have fun recording. I know, it's stressful, isn't it? I mean, I find it stressful. Just because I'm I don't know that song that well. And so, yeah, I didn't know that song that well, so I had to do it major amount of times. Bernie and AOC collected 5,000 days, people who want to run at their rallies. Oh, yes, Jane, thank you, because I think that I'm going to be really, really happy to see the fruits that are yielded from the AOC Bernie tour, democracy tour, and progressive. I love that. I don't know Les Mis. Exactly, gal. I'm okay. I'm okay. I think I can get the basic gist. It's also a very difficult song to sing because it's very fast and you have to enunciate, and I don't do a great job enunciating, as we all know when you listen to me read. Sometimes I mess up diphthongs and stuff. Those really kind of get me. So that's very hard to sing, but it was fun. It was really fun. I can't wait. Heard from a colleague who attended a copper conference last week, and the industry expects tariffs by the end of June. We'll share if I see anything confirming. Thank you, Lee. We do need to, I need to find a way to get you your voice on air, because I really, really do want to give you the floor and have you talk about what's happening right now. You know, it's not even like a presentation. I don't want you to present. I just want you to talk about what's happening and what you think people need to know. Les Mis, Clump lives in permanent 1980. I know. Oh, this is going to be... Watch the 5/8. Watch the 5/8 this Friday. That's all I'm going to say. Just watch the 5/8. The original song is super campy and obnoxious. Oh, yeah, no, it's not one of the better ones. You know, like a great Les Mis song. I think the only one I like is the one where she's like really sad and something like, he left me, you know. Don't leave me. Yes, I know. I really appreciate Brent's insights, actually. Yeah. Of course, I do have a small crush on him. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is he's very smart. Yeah, so I think... I don't have enough screens here. Wait, hold on. Let me reorganize. Yeah. 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 Okay, here we go. So we've got the Pope. Cover girl. Put your base in your walk. Blah, blah, blah. Sorry. Make your whole body talk. Okay, so this, I'm going to make you a little smaller, Popey watch. Oops. Ow. Whoa. Just in case one of the popes comes out and exposes himself, we'll have that on. And then we're gonna have some fun with Jim Jordan. Jimmy Jordan has a problem, yeah. Wait, I know. Where am I gonna put the Pope? Pope, where are you gonna go? Where are you going with all that ass? Where are you going with all that ass, Pope? Let me see. I'm gonna put the Pope up here. There we go. Actually, I'll put the Pope right in the middle, you know, where he deserves to be. No, actually, no, I won't. I'll put, no. Right there. Right. Put the dinosaur on the square, yeah. Dinosaur's coming into the piazza. You know who I find attractive? Root. Wait, who's his name? Rutte. There's a super excellent Substack on how to deal with Stephen Miller. It's long, but I'll grab the link for you guys. It's great info. Ooh, I like it. Who's Root? Who's Ruto? Okay, here we go. Wait, I gotta get you this other shit. Hold on. Cover girl. Put that bass in your walk. Oh, I like the bells. Oh, shut up. I'm gonna shut up. Okay. All right. I need to put... Wait. What do I need to do? Okay. I need to put this down here. Perfect. Okay, great. There we go. Okay, wait. I need to switch these. I'm so sorry. Hold on. Everybody, hold, please. Hold, please. We are now processing. Hold on. Cover girl. Put that bass in your walk. Head to toe. Make your whole body talk. I haven't drunk any... Well, I have drunk coffee. I lied. Root used to live in the same building as a friend in The Hague. They had got good things to say about him, even though their politics were different. Oh, interesting. Very interesting. I'm telling you, we are the most connected chat on the fucking internet. Let me tell you. Oh, we are so connected. So very connected. Yeah, anyway, so I thought we'd watch this morning. I actually thought there was... wait, because I thought there was something else. Hold on, please. Just bear with me a minute. Bear with me. Cover girl. Put that bass in your walk. Sorry. Oh, wait. See, this one is one I want. God damn it. Then there's Scott Besson is testifying to... What was he testifying to? International financial system. Which one? Which one? I think we'll start with the trade secrets and the global AI arms race. And then we'll go to Scott Bessent, because Mrs. Beasley we watched yesterday, so I don't want to overdo it on the Beasley. But we will. Okay, I'm going to make these guys quiet. All right, thank you. You're too much. You're too much. Okay, you're just too much. My mama told me I was too much for you. Yeah. All right, yeah, we'll wait for Scott Bessent. Let's see, is there anything else? Bessent, Treasury Secretary, blah. Blah, 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 blah. All right. I guess that's it. Okay. I thought there was an FBI one. That's what I was trying to look at. I thought there was an FBI hearing this morning. Hold on. I know I sound like I really don't. There's something wrong. I don't know. There's so much wrong. But there is something wrong. I don't think I'm well. Okay, let me see. Hold on. Oh!
The subcommittee will come to order.
Shit.
Without objection, the chair is authorized to declare a recess at any time.
You're the chair?
We welcome today
Oh my God.
our guests for a hearing on trade secrets and in the global AI arms race. I now recognize myself for a short opening statement. Today's hearing addresses the core tension in the age of artificial intelligence. The push for disclosure balanced with the need to protect innovation that drive U.S. leadership. And there's a non-disclosure on the phone. The proprietary algorithms that in fact train data sets are likely to be now and in the future the secret sauce.
I don't know if that's what this
not
is.
patented, not available to the public, but of such value that other nefarious actors will do anything to get them. Without strong protections, we risk sacrificing the very breakthroughs we aim to encourage. Some have called the sweeping AI disclosure mandates in the name of transparency. This committee has strongly believed and will continue to believe in transparency. But like anything else, a protective order is just a promise, and a promise that is historically not kept, in fact, has no value. We cannot require disclosure of trade secrets or proprietary data sets under the guise of transparency. Such disclosures would not only have a chilling effect on innovation, but hand strategic advantage to foreign adversaries who do not play by the same rules. Consider this: the United States investment in AI is approaching $1 trillion. China has invested not more than 1/3 as much and is already neck to neck with the United States. DeepSeek and other Chinese models are rapidly catching up to American companies. But let's look deeper. DeepSeek contains models that clearly were taken from OpenAI and other sets. We know China's speed is not merely because they invest in innovation. It is also the result of IP theft, reverse engineering, efforts to circumvent U.S. export controls, and more. China has also weaponized our legal system by financing lawsuits that target American firms in expensive litigation and with the intent, in many cases, to mine that proprietary information.
Yeah, exactly. I heard
All
that.
the while,
I heard that.
Shina continues to refuse
They just put out a shitty product and was like, we're the best.
In its own courts.
I almost think it was like a fucking joke to them.
I personally have been part of that recognition that they will not defend trademarks, patents,
so now,
even when you go to the expense of getting them in China. Even if you make your product in China, you will not be protected. Lastly, American companies have a reverse situation, one in which
the world is definitely going to
constantly, and this committee has worked tirelessly
rickroll
on
this
a
president
bipartisan
more
basis
and more
to promote
his
rocket dockets, to in fact get
tenure.
the speed of decision to the lowest cost and the quickest time. Well, in China, you can
Please
be
share the
assured if
broadcast.
you're an
Ooh,
American
thank you.
company asserting your rights, you will go into the never, never land of your case will come up someday. Efforts continue to include the need to prevent U.S. engineers with access to specific sensitive AI systems from sidestepping non-competes and NDAs by working for Chinese firms. Ensure the disclosure of regimes do not inadvertently reveal protection by mirroring
Guitar.
EU-style
Oh,
regulations.
is doing a seminar how to take advantage of
I might
Plump.
say here, a little off the record, EU,
I
as
would
we
try.
speak,
I
is
mean, if you're going to
second-guessing
be
their
like, I got
very
to take care of my
disclosures.
people,
It has not escaped us
be like, this guy's an
that
idiot.
the AI Act
Let's
of
go.
Europe, in fact, was a great step
Let's
forward.
go.
And as we speak, many are pushing to take at least a small step backwards. And with that, I'm delighted to introduce my ranking member for his opening
Why do
statement.
they love each other so much
Thank you,
in their
Mr.
introductions
Chairman.
and then just be
117 days ago, Chinese company DeepSeek launched its flagship model, DeepSeek R01. In the following days and weeks, American experts wrung their hands and shook their heads, many considering for the first time the possibility that we may be losing the so-called AI arms race. DeepSeek claims R01 was developed faster and cheaper than comparable U.S. models. Others argue DeepSeek, at a minimum, violated OpenAI's terms of service to obtain proprietary training data.
Oh, this is to protect OpenAI. I get
Where
it.
everyone seems to agree is that AI startups should be innovating faster. I've heard colleagues suggest we should forget regulations, ignore IP laws, and just focus on clearing the way for AI companies. I agree everyone wins when we foster American AI startups. But
Can I just ask a question before I forget this question? I almost forgot this question. Wait, I might have forgotten this question. Oh, shit. Damn it. All right, it'll come back, I hope.
I think it's a false choice to say we can succeed only if we do so irresponsibly. If you, excuse me, if you walk around the Capitol today, you can see plants sprouting out
And
of
let
the
them
soil.
be their own utilities. Wow, that
beginning to
sounds so much
grow.
like a network state.
What you'll notice if you look closely is some of those shoots growing in the shade look like they're growing
Kleptocracy.
faster than the others. As they race for just a little bit of sunlight.
It's okay, Jane. You can
yes,
obsess here. It's
they grow
totally
quickly,
fine.
but ultimately they grow less hardy.
I obsess over
more
crushes
brittle,
all the
and
time.
prone
It's
to
really,
disease.
you know,
AI
it's
innovation
fine.
works
It's
the
very
same
human.
way.
Don't worry.
As
I
we
got
seek
you.
ways to promote American AI startups, we should also work to ensure that businesses meet minimum standards for system cybersecurity. We should ask what types of transparency
People should be
are
asking
necessary to protect other IP
why
rights.
states' rights is no longer
and consider
important
how
to the
set standards
GOP.
while still protecting trade secrets. By encouraging companies to meet best practices and respect intellectual property rights, we will foster hardy competition that protects U.S. innovation from those who seek to
It's
undermine
whatever that
our
word
success.
is where
The
the
government of
companies
China has
own
made no
all of
secret
the
of its intent to steal
governance.
American intellectual property.
wherever that is. That a
And there is
kleptocracy or
bipartisan
something? I don't even know how you
agreement
describe
that the
it. But
United
whatever that
States
is, that's
should
what I think.
protect its innovations from those who seek to benefit from American ingenuity. There is also a right way and a wrong way to compete with our adversaries. While we don't always agree on this
Maybe
committee,
that's something that we
have
need to
had meaningful
rethink in terms of
discussions on the
IP.
right to protect
How about that?
American IP
What
from
about
the
that?
government
Hi,
of
Audrey.
China.
How are you, sister? I love you, girl.
Cybersecurity
Good
standards
to
to
see
keep
you.
our people
Always love
and
to
our
see you in the
institutions
chat.
safe, and the threat landscape
Can some
to AI
fucking staffer
innovation.
get him a bottle of water, please? Jesus, it's about time.
Donald Trump, on the other hand, has acted in ways that hurt American businesses. His ideologically inconsistent and unpredictable tariffs have hurt American consumers, American businesses, and our allies. Innovation in America suffers when the path forward is uncertain. For generations, American companies have benefited from attracting the best and the brightest from other nations. Yet, seemingly without reason, Trump again and again hurts American businesses by attempting to revoke already granted student visas and threatening the H-1B visa program for highly skilled immigrants. The deleterious impact of these policies on AI innovation should not be ignored. According to a recent study, immigrants founded or co-founded 28 of the top 43 AI companies in the United States, and 70% of full-time graduate students in fields related to artificial intelligence are international students. So instead of focusing on policies that stand to derail American innovation, we should focus on upholding our treaties and respecting our allies. We should encourage our research institutions to engage with universities around the world. The breakneck speed of innovation has made it easier than ever to reach out to people around the world.
It's going to be WALL-E.
Now is not a time for isolationism, because history has shown us that true innovation thrives on openness. After all, groundbreaking inventions rarely emerge when knowledge is walled off. I thank the witnesses for being here today, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. We now recognize the ranking member of the full committee for his opening statement.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and thanks to the witnesses for joining us. I'm happy to participate in a rare hearing on the important bipartisan work of this committee. We don't agree on a lot these days, but the importance of the U.S. intellectual property regime to American innovation is indeed a value that we all share. But even with this agreement in Congress, the executive branch has injected terrible instability into our intellectual property regime. Innovation depends on stable and predictable rules that people can rely on to secure their inventions and property rights, manufacture their products, and attract investors and consumers to their businesses. But instead of fostering a stable atmosphere which allows people to innovate, the Trump administration has hampered creativity. Since he was inaugurated, Trump has revoked federal research grants to universities where scientists make significant new discoveries every year. He's tried to take over some universities. He's tried to cancel student visas. Last time he was president, of course, he increased the denial rate for highly skilled immigrants who work in engineering, computer programming, and at research labs in highly technical fields. Already in the first quarter of this year, Donald Trump's trade war against the world, except for Russia, has reduced the U.S. gross domestic product. It's raised prices on consumers, and it's encouraged businesses to hoard goods. Chaotic tariffs that change from day to day make it difficult for businesses to plan ahead.
Who can even plan? Lee, I can't even imagine how you're doing any planning.
Invest in ideas, and innovators are in turn less likely to strike out on their own. We may never know what inventions, life-saving cures, world-changing businesses are being sacrificed at the altar of Donald Trump's helter-skelter and lawless tariff agenda. We should also remember that inventors and creators aren't just big businesses. The heart of our IP system are parents tinkering with an invention at the kitchen table after putting the kids to sleep, aspiring songwriters waiting tables to pay the bills while chasing their dreams, and engineering students researching the next big idea. Yet now all of these people are having a tough time in Trump's America, a place where hope of that next big break feels further and further away. Investing in an idea is a risky proposition, but it's even riskier for the individual who has to go it alone. Finally, in most cases, intellectual property ownership is only as good as the ability to enforce that right in court. Every rights holder should be worried as we watch the all-out assault on the judicial branch unfold. A judicial system that doesn't work for everyone eventually won't work for anyone, and that includes IP owners. Despite these threats, the U.S. IP system is still lauded around the world for its ability to spur innovation and creativity. That is in part because our founders chose to promote innovation by protecting the rights of individual creators. Federalist 43, Madison wrote that the utility of the intellectual property clause will scarcely be questioned, and in the case of patents and copyrights, the public good fully coincides with the claims of individuals. Rewarding individual discoveries and creations has allowed innovation to flourish. According to a recent study, the U.S. is home to over half of the more than 10,000
Okay, I thought that thing up
AI
there was a
startups
fish.
across
I'm just going to say.
10 countries leading in AI. We should be proud of our AI leadership, but we must also take steps
Okay,
to
here we go.
protect American trade secrets from competing
Oh,
nations.
that's okay,
that
Jane.
seek
I'll
to
forget. How about
steal our
that? I'm
technology.
so good at
Some
forgetting.
have referred to the push to develop
We're doing
the
a
most
lot of
advanced
what
AI
if
model
analysis to
as the
try and
AI
find
arms race.
relief,
Now,
but it's
there's
fleeting.
nothing wrong with
and Customs and Border
competition in this
Patrol or
sense,
protection
but when
or
other
whatever
countries
is so
threaten US
confused. All of this
cybersecurity,
is being done
steal
without their
our
input.
inventions, and
Oh
conduct
my gosh.
economic espionage against U.S. companies,
Oh
as the
my
government
gosh.
of China has done, that is cause for serious scrutiny. Just because we all agree AI systems should be secure from foreign threats does not obviate the responsibility, of course,
No, we don't. She was
for
kidding.
AI platforms have to other rights holders and to consumers. Jack Dorsey and Elon Musk both recently made the claim that we should delete all IP
I just really
law.
like those camera shots.
I think that we can all emphatically reject that notion. America's intellectual property system has not just made us a global leader in AI, its very foundation created the careers of those two men. Intellectual property is the engine that powers our economy, drives innovation, jobs, and growth at every turn for all inventors, big and small, including Dorsey and Musk. Without a strong IP system, we risk losing the very spark that has made us such a leader in global innovation and opportunity. I look forward to hearing from our witnesses today, and I thank you, Mr. Chairman, and yield back.
Without objection, all other opening statements will be included in the record. It's now my pleasure to introduce our panel of witnesses. Mr. Nicholas Anderson. Mr. Anderson is President and Chief Operating Officer of Invitas International Consulting Company, which provides technical services for national security systems. He previously served as Chief Information Officer for Public Sector at Lumen Technologies and served at the Department of Energy, Office of Management and Budget, and the Department of Navy, Coast Guard, and served on active duty as a United States Marine, which I presume means that he has been to Camp Pendleton in my district. It is a rite of passage. Dr. Benjamin Jensen. Dr. Jensen is the Director of Future Labs and a Senior Fellow at the Defense and Security Department at the Center for Strategic and International
something's
Studies.
wrong with the cut of that suit.
Also the Frank E. Peterson Chair for Emerging Technologies and a Professor of Strategic Studies at the Marine Corps University. I knew you laughed for a reason. Advanced Warfare. Dr. Jensen previously served as a Senior Research Director of the U.S. Cyber Solarium Commission.
No,
and is
I gotta
a
look this
reserve
up, Jane.
officer in the
I'm
United
gonna look
States
this up.
Army. Double dipping. Mr. Christopher Moore. Mr. Moore is President of the Software Information Industry Association and a collection of entertainment, consumer, and business software companies. He previously served as Senior Vice President for Intellectual Property and General Counsel at that organization and continues to serve as the Chief Legal Officer for the association. Ms. Helen Toner. Ms. Toner is Director of Strategies and Foundation Research Grants at Georgetown Center for Security and Emergency Technology. She previously served as Senior Research Analyst at Open Philanthropy, where she advised policymakers and grant makers on AI policy and strategy. Dr. John Volosinier, fair, not great, is Professor of Electrical Engineering, Law, Public Policy and Management at and the Facility Co-Director at the Institute for Technology, Law, and Policy at UCLA. Professor works and his work is focused on technology and law related to artificial intelligence, digital communication, computing, network, and cybersecurity and privacy. We welcome our witnesses here today, and pursuant to the committee's rules, I would ask that you all rise to take the oath. And the right hand is always good to use.
Sorry, sir.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm, under penalty of perjury, that the testimony you will give will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and information? Please be seated. Let the record reflect that all witnesses answered
You will be satisfied with one Applehead doll.
Now the part you've all seen on C-SPAN. We'd like you to stay as
You don't
close
need
as
30
we
or 40,
you can to 5 minutes.
which is true.
The lights on
I don't
in
need
front
30
of
or
you
40.
will count you down and indicate when you're close to.
Applehead's on
and
standby.
then finally when you've
Applehead
hit
grandma's
5
on
minutes.
standby.
Rest assured that not only will all your opening statements in their entirety be included in the record,
Or
but additional
she's sitting next to
information
him.
that you provide or that later you provide pursuant to questions or things which are stimulated from our discussion. So you really get
stimulated?
hours and hours. You just get 5 minutes up front. Dr. Jensen.
All right. Thank you, Chairman, Ranking Member Johnson, members of the subcommittee. Before I start, I view my job here today to really help frame a larger
Oh my God, he's a car
conversation.
salesman. God
That
damn.
conversation really is about the defining competition of the 21st century.
This is why
And that is
advanced
the race to
education
shape
means
what
nothing.
we're starting to call agentic AI. So when I say agentic AI, I'm not just talking about everybody playing with an LLM here or there or narrow imagery recognition.
He
I'm
is
talking
an
about the next
apple-headed
level, where
pope.
all of these applications start to work
With
together
with
and
the
they start
ring.
to generate actual knowledge, influence our
There's
decisions,
a song there, Jane.
and even help us manage complex tasks at scale. Frankly, whoever leads this agentic AI race is going to shape the rules of the future international order. And I'm not being hyperbolic, I sincerely mean that. If you talk about the efficiencies, the economic growth, the changing questions of governance, we are literally at a historical inflection point, which made it so good to hear you bring in the Federalist Papers, because we almost have to really think at that level about these tasks. The stakes could not be clearer. This is not just about AI as a tool of human flourishing or who makes more money or who makes a better poem with an app. This is really about whether or not this is going to be a mechanism for authoritarian control or a way to really embody and propagate
Wait, are you
the
making
best
me like you
traditions and
now?
values upon which our
Are you
republic
making
was
me
founded.
like you
And
now?
I really mean that about the stakes. And
No,
frankly,
People Magazine
while
does,
America's
though,
been
Neil.
the leader
I'm
of this,
kidding.
the pioneer, you can go back to the
Boots with
invention of the term
fur.
artificial intelligence at Dartmouth,
The
all of the
ring with
early
the
engineering
gold.
from Cornell to other universities, as you point out, this kind of basic research plus the beauty of capitalism working together. But frankly, that's under assault. The People's Republic of China is exploiting our economy and our innovation ecosystem. Beijing is basically conducting a coordinated strategy
Or
that
they're
siphons
doing
off intellectual
what's,
property,
what
circumvents
they can.
export controls, and
Slippers
exploits
with the
legal
bling.
gaps.
Oh, that's a good
with
one.
state-directed theft and replication. Chairman, what you accurately characterized as
Yeah.
weaponizing our
Not gonna
legal
get the
system
Applehead in
against
time.
us.
Damn
And I
it.
think for at least today, I want to talk about
Applehead, you
three
must be
ways this
more
strategy
nimble,
unfolds.
more nimble,
Some technical,
Applehead.
some more
There we go.
general. So first,
Cardinal
through knowledge
Applehead is here.
distillation and what's called unbounded consumption attacks, Chinese
Wearing
firms
that spicy
replicated U.S.
blue
foundation models,
under
so think,
her
OpenAI's
uniform.
ChatGPT, at a fraction of the
Cardinal
cost.
Applehead,
Not
and I'm
talking
here
$1
to
billion
say
to develop a model. We're
you
talking
other
millions
cardinals
of
can
dollars.
go
So
away.
significant economic difference. And essentially what they did is they harvested the outputs of American models, definitely without permission,
Spicy
and
blue.
used them to build their own versions like DeepSeek. Bluntly, this is not innovation. This is intellectual looting.
Okay.
Second, through
Calm
state-sponsored
down,
cyber
Junior.
espionage, Chinese APT, advanced persistent threat groups like Silk, Typhoon, and others, target everything from our cloud infrastructure to semiconductors. And increasingly,
I'm gonna
this
need
isn't
more
just
weed for this.
random smash and grab hacking.
Scott
It's a
Bassett hasn't
calculated
even started his
campaign
thing.
to steal what
I don't know
free
what's going on
societies
there.
and free people create. And third,
Anybody
despite
check on
export
Mrs. Beasley?
controls, China continues to access critical chips and software. Export controls have utterly been futile up to this point and really make us have to rethink, like, what is our defensive playbook
God,
and what is
nobody
our
even wanted to
offensive
just
playbook?
sit in his hearing today. How
Through
embarrassing.
loopholes, third-party countries, and subsidies, they keep advancing while American firms face regulatory burdens and shrinking market access. In short, the current approach is not
think that
enough.
jacket is one
Export
size too
controls
small.
And AI diffusion policy do more economic harm than good. And as you pointed out, Representative Johnson, we really have to protect those smaller
I do hate it,
innovators.
actually.
So how are
Sorry,
we going
I
to
hate it.
balance that? So if the Chinese
Like a
Communist
window
Party and its
pane
network of
blue
little giants and
suit
firms
with a purple
parties to
tie,
state
that
control
fucking
are
is
using this
blows
playbook of
chunks right
steal,
there.
copy, accelerate,
I
what do
fucking
we
hate
do?
that
Well, first,
combination.
America's
Don't do a
never
lavender
powerless.
tie with a blue
It's
suit.
time that we act decisively and we
It doesn't
preserve our
matter
AI
that they're in the
leadership. I
same
think there's
family
three
or whatever
things
the
that we
fuck
can
you think
discuss
they
along
are.
those lines. First, we modernize intellectual property
You get a
laws.
Pope
And I
Applehead
think
and
that
a
we have
Mrs.
amazing
Beasley coming
experts
this
to talk to you
Christmas
about that. We
to
need
a
to
Christian
address
toy store
techniques like
near
knowledge
you.
distillation and API abuse.
Only for
And we need to basically
Christians.
coordinate globally, so it's not just in US courts, it's other free society courts where we can bring this to bear. And we even start to imagine, I love that you brought up again Federalist 43. What would that look like written in 2025? And what would that look like if a legal scholar using an LLM wrote it as a basis for us to start this conversation about what are property laws? Second, we may need to start treating AI companies like critical infrastructure. Their products support national security, economic competitiveness, and global influence. And those designations means
like
that you can work cross-jurisdiction with other subcommittees and other committees to start to think about
like
tax
his shoulders
credits and
are
other
too broad.
incentives
The
that
dude
get you
needs
what
to
you
go
were
get a
talking about.
fucking.
How do
He
you
needs to
defend
go
their
to a
IP?
tailor. I'm
And I'll
sorry,
close with
he's one of those
saying,
dudes.
we go on
Stop
the
taking
offense.
steroids.
Lawsuits alone will
Then
not
you can
deter
fit in an
coordinated
off-the-rack
state-backed
suit.
campaigns.
I don't
So
do
we have
that.
to
I don't make the
prioritize
rules.
the type of intelligence collection
I don't
that
make
can
the
be
rules. I just
declassified and turned into
let you know what they are.
legally admissible information that can be used to hold China accountable in multiple courts.
Yeah,
and
go
frankly,
to a
even
tailor.
consider the type of offensive cyber
you know
actions
what?
that makes them think twice about stealing from
Skip
America.
the White Claw
So in closing, this is
and
way more
strip
than
club
about
this
company
weekend.
profits. It's about
Go
free
to a tailor.
societies
Oh,
and not
hi, Jesus. How
authoritarian
you doing?
regimes assuming leadership of the coming AI century. And so I thank you for your time.
Jesus, you ever hear that joke? Get down off the cross. Somebody needs the wood.
You, Dr.
My mother
Billy
used to tell me that all the
Soror,
time when I was
Senior.
complaining about shit. Turn your mic on.
Now the little button in front, when it turns red,
Yeah,
it's a
and
good sign.
are you going to tell me you have a center
Ranking Member
part?
Johnson, Ranking Member Raskin, members of the
thank God.
subcommittee,
Okay, no,
thank you
just a
very much
Caesar
for the
cut.
opportunity
Okay.
to testify here today.
A comb.
I should mention
comb,
at the outset
comb
that I'm
front,
testifying
comb.
in my own individual capacity.
Comb
I'm
up.
not representing any organization. America is the clear global leader in
Comb
AI,
up.
a technology that is foundational to our continued economic
I don't hate
prosperity
it.
and national security. The competitive differentiation that is so instrumental to the success of the U.S. AI industry is vulnerable in several ways. First, precisely because American AI companies are so innovative and market-leading, they are ripe targets for trade secret theft. Secondly, policy discussions regarding AI regulation here in the United States often give insufficient consideration to the potential collateral damage to trade secret rights. Given the enormous attention to generative AI products such as ChatGPT, it's important to keep in mind that AI is much more than generative AI. The recent advances in other areas of AI are equally impressive. For instance, AI is revolutionizing drug discovery. AI is also at the core of algorithms that enable autonomous vehicles to navigate complex city streets. Collaborations between humans and AI is promising to bring improvements to medical image interpretation. AI can extend the human capacity to create new inventions and will revolutionize logistics, weather forecasting, and many other fields.
Or he needs to go to the big and tall
AI is
section.
critical to
Are
ensure
you saying that there was no
overly
unauthorized
expansive transparency rules would undermine
Okay,
AI
Scott
leadership.
Besant is testifying.
Exhibit A for that
I
would be,
kind of
for
want to go
example,
to
the
it.
now revoked executive order issued in October 2023, which would have
All right, we're gonna
required
wait.
some AI companies
I'm trying to be organized.
file with the government information about the physical and cybersecurity measures used to protect their model weights. Clearly, if the government were to maintain databases like that, those databases would become essentially a target list for cyber espionage. Armed with the information hacked from those databases, and those databases would get hacked, then state-sponsored actors could more easily enter the systems of leading AI companies. There are novel trade secret issues arising from the adaptive nature and complexity of AI systems. Because AI systems learn from their environment, they can operate in ways that can be elusive even to their designers. This creates some really important and interesting questions. First, can creators of AI systems have trade secret rights and algorithms they do not understand? I believe that the answer to this question is yes. Suppose that a company builds an AI system that through adaptation has evolved to the point where an algorithm it is executing is quite different from the one initially envisioned and programmed by its employees. After the adaptation process, the company employees no longer know how the algorithm works, but they do know that it works extremely well for its intended purpose. Does this algorithm qualify as a trade secret owned by the company? Even though no human knows what it is, in my view, it does. Second, how can plaintiffs assert misappropriation of trade secrets they don't know? Well, the answer is that asserting trade secret rights in an algorithm will require describing it, which requires plaintiffs to learn it. It will not be sufficient for plaintiffs to state, in effect, we're not sure how our AI works, but whatever it is doing, it's our trade secret, and the defendant has misappropriated it. Rather, plaintiffs will need to provide enough detail for a
Okay,
court
I'm sorry.
and a
I'm
defendant
bored
to
by
know
this.
which
I'm
specific
so
trade
sorry.
secret
I got to
is at
see
issue.
Mrs. Beasley.
I would also like to briefly mention the global context. The preeminence of American AI companies creates an
gonna just
asymmetry.
Stop it there. I'm sorry. I'm such a slut. I'm such a slut for Mrs. Beasley. I'm a slut for you, Mrs. Beasley.
Unsanctioned persons that had access to the systems that you are in control of.
Again,
This just started.
There were 2 employees.
Yep.
There were very strict guardrails, and they were there for an ERP function.
Yeah, so they were authorized and they were sanctioned.
Yes.
So not unknown, and Elon Musk wasn't one of those 2 people?
No, to my knowledge,
Okay.
Mr. Musk has never been in the Treasury building.
Okay, all right. I have to hit on Burma and a little crypto, and if we have time, China. So I want to thank you for your actions that Treasury took this past Monday regarding Burma. The KNA, the Karen National Army, has become a haven for transnational criminal organizations that run illicit operations such as human trafficking and smuggling. The group has strong ties to the Burmese army, which has targeted religious and ethnic minorities such as the Rohingya since the civil war broke out in 2021. While the U.S. and our allies continue to impose sanctions against the military junta, unfortunately, the atrocities continue. My district, the 4th District of Michigan, is home to approximately 5,000 of these ethnic Burmese. And I'm just asking you, we need to do more to protect the people of Burma and to stop the genocide. Yesterday, I reintroduced the Brave Burma Act, a bipartisan piece of legislation that would require the president to determine on an annual basis whether to impose stronger blocking sanctions against the Myanmar oil and gas enterprise, the Myanmar Economic Bank, and foreign persons operating in the jet fuel sector of the Burmese economy, which has been a tremendous amount of their revenue.
I don't know if J-Rams is still
and it further limits the junta's ability to borrow at the IMF, which I think is one of the issues that the chairman was touching on. So these actions would target the heart of the military junta's revenue. So can I get your commitment that you're going to continue to work with my staff and us on a bipartisan basis as we try to address these issues in Burma?
Congressman, we're happy to work with your staff on this legislation, and thank you for your leadership on this issue. I share your concern about imposing consequences on persons who threaten the peace, security, and stability of Burma. Treasury has the tools to continue to take action for the people of Burma, and working with you, we will continue to do so.
That's great. And what's frustrating is while some of these sanctions have been put in place, a sanction's only as good as the willingness to enforce it. And
they started at 4 a.m.
We have seen them receiving financial support, the junta from around the world, especially, frankly, as they ramped up production during the last administration. So I'll note it's not just Burma, it's places like Iran.
Anyway, okay, well, I thought it was more important than that.
Activity that has gone around the sanctions has been allowed. In some cases, Treasury has granted these licenses. I sit on the Foreign Affairs Committee as well, and we see this all the time.
I know, we were wondering that, Jane. We were wondering if we should do
I want to touch on crypto. Yesterday, as I had mentioned, the committee held a hearing with House Agriculture, or attempted to hold a hearing with the House Agriculture Committee. Turned into a very important roundtable as well regarding digital asset market structure reform.
Damn,
so can you quickly explain how important it is to America to take the lead here, especially
Beasley.
as we see
This is Beasley.
China?
I'm obsessed with
ahead.
Mrs. Beasley. Okay, I admit it.
Yes, sir. We believe that the United States should be the premier destination for digital assets, and as members of this committee and the Senate are attempting to do, create good market structure around that, so that U.S. best practices are used around the world.
And that's really the point, right, is having American U.S. best practices to sort of set the pace for others to follow, rather than us trying to fill in the holes that others that may be created as others set that pace.
Yes, sir. And also, the digital assets are an important source of innovation that will drive that can drive usage of the U.S. dollar around the world, as with stablecoin legislation. There is speculation that there may be up to $2 trillion of demand over the next few years for U.S. government securities from digital assets.
My time has expired, but I'll send you my question regarding Chinese debt trap diplomacy. So with that, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from New York, ranking member of the Small Business Committee, Ms. Velasquez, is recognized.
Yeah, don't get between me and Mrs. Beasley.
Mr. Chairman,
okay?
I want to raise a point of order.
Yes, ma'am.
But I don't want the clock to be eating my time.
I'm sorry. Yes.
I would like for the witness to be swearing in before I ask my questions.
I met her in
Chair
New York.
doesn't see a need for
Really
that.
cool.
You may ask your question. Your time can start the gentlewoman's time over at 5 minutes.
Secretary Besant, you were on CNBC earlier this week making claims saying we are very close and maybe we will see some deals this week on tariffs. So tell us, tell the American people, tell small businesses and consumers, tell retirees, specifically, which countries are you close to striking deals with?
I'm sorry, Congresswoman, but that would not benefit the United States.
No. I'm asking you a question based on the statement that you made on CNBC.
And I am telling you that it would be detrimental to the interest of the United States for me to answer that question.
Why will that be detrimental?
Because as the negotiations may still be in process as we speak, as we are not at the end of the week yet, I am sure that you through your question, would not want to compromise the U.S. negotiating.
Reclaiming my time.
Would you?
Secretary Besant, the president goes into a press conference and claims that there are negotiations going on. And then the next day, there's no negotiations going on. So why would you not answer my question? And that will be considered detrimental to the American people, to the American economy. I do not understand. Despite your claim...
I'm happy to say there are negotiations going on. I'm not going to reveal the details.
No filibuster.
Brother.
No filibuster here. So how long do you think those negotiations will take before they are concluded?
There are numerous countries, as I have said, if you saw my CNBC interview, which you referenced, that there are 18 important trading partners, and we are moving forward at all deliberate speed with those.
Do you consider these negotiations advanced negotiations?
Some of them are quite advanced.
So you expect this deal to be more than
and
memorandums of understanding? You expect them to be full negotiated trade deals?
I believe that they will be the agreements in principle, and then we will paper them over in the coming months. But once we reach an agreement, then I am sure that the other countries will live up to it.
Okay. In congressional testimony yesterday,
he is an arrogant
you said
prick.
the U.S. has not started negotiating with China on tariff reductions. Does that continue to be your position, yes or no?
As you may have read,
yes or no, sir?
As you may have read in the press, I will be going to Switzerland, and the negotiations will begin on Saturday.
Okay, so the president told you that that will be your answer today. So can you tell who from the Trump administration is engaged in those discussions?
Which discussions?
With China.
Trade discussions?
Pardon?
I'm sorry.
Trade discussions, yes, sir.
Well, the trade negotiations will be led by myself and Ambassador Jameson Greer,
and
USTR.
And what about Pete Navarro?
Sorry?
Peter Navarro.
He will not be joining us in Geneva.
Thank God for that. Are those negotiations considered advanced?
Pardon?
Are those negotiations considered advanced?
As I said, on Saturday we will begin, which I believe is the opposite of advance.
I really do love her. Her heart is so big.
Secretary Besson, as Treasury Secretary and a senior member of President Trump's economic team, has President Trump given you the authority to finalize any trade agreement with China or any other trading partner?
As President Trump has stated, he will have the final decision on any trade agreement.
So you're telling me all of these increased prices, the stock market losses, the production delays are all based on the whims of Donald Trump, that you could strike the best deal with Canada, Mexico, or even China that is completely in our favor, giving us everything the administration is
Gentlewoman's time has
seeking.
expired.
And if President Trump decides at any certain moment, for whatever reason, not to take the deal, that will be it. I yield back.
The gentleman from Oklahoma, Mr. Lucas, who is chair of our Task Force on Monetary Policy, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, as the dust has continued to settle after last month's episode of Treasury market volatility, can you give an updated assessment of those events, and how would you characterize the functioning of the market during that period? Bring the dust up in Treasury.
Yeah, he's just being his racist self is what he's really doing.
The market was very well functioning. It was volatile.
Beasley is not a nice person.
The infrastructure worked quite smoothly, sir.
Does the Treasury Department have the tools necessary to address market volatility? You've said you may increase the use of the buyback program. Are there other authorities that might be helpful to address the challenges of the market?
Yes, sir. We have a very large toolkit that we can deploy, as does the Federal Reserve.
Taking a step back,
now
Mr.
we're getting into it.
Can you provide us with a sense of what regulations the administration is working on to bolster resilience in the Treasury market and the timelines when you would expect those changes to be announced? This is a core issue on the task force I and a number of my colleagues are working on.
Sir, the auction sizes, the current issuance sizes leave us well positioned to address potential changes in borrowing needs. I can tell you that investor participation in auctions, there's been broad investor support. Our weighted average maturity is about 61.2 months, which is quite fulsome. And we have implemented a buyback program with two objectives: liquidity support and cash management.
One last question along that line. I've long said that the administration should look at reforming regulations like the supplemental leverage ratio to relieve some of the constraints that market participants are facing in the Treasury market. I hope you'll consider looking at that.
Sir, Treasury does not look at that, but I believe that it is a high priority for the three regulators, the OCC, the FDIC, and the Federal Reserve.
Thank you. And as the SEC
it's
continues
Real
to
Housewives of the
implement their
Vatican.
clearing
It just
rule,
lends itself so
a number
well.
of firms, including those
I'm sure someone's
outside
already
the
done
United
that.
States, are looking to provide clearing services for U.S. Treasuries and their derivatives. How are you working with the SEC and the CFTC?
I think they just say don't fuck with the Swiss Guard just because the Swiss Guard wants to wear such outrageous outfits. But really, they're not as tough as they say they are. You know what I'm saying? Not that they're not tough, but I don't think they're as tough as they say they are. You know, they're like, don't piss them off. I don't know. I think it's just because they need to put a front up.
Practices employed in the U.S. are also employed globally.
And the reason I ask that is, and if you could specifically comment on the clearing of U.S. sovereign debt outside of the United States, what risk could that potentially present?
Right? I mean, ribbon.
And I come at that from the perspective, if there's a challenge in the market, if it's a U.S.-based entity, then the regulators who would make the difficult decisions are here. If it's outside of the United States, they might have a different perspective.
We are constantly studying that, sir. As of now, we do not believe that it presents a risk. But I will, as we continue our studies, I will have my staff interact with your team.
Absolutely, Mr. Secretary. And one final question. primary dealerships has become an expensive proposition for firms, which in one explanation for participants leaving the market, it's one of the many explanations. Should we be looking at ways to make the environment friendlier to investors wanting to become primary dealers?
Sir, we saw at the recent auctions very low participation by the primary dealers, which tells me that there may be
banks that are allowed to deal with the government directly.
Function there that is preventing
authorized
them
trading
from using
partners.
their balance sheet for the benefit of the U.S. Treasury.
So clearly, the task force that Chairman Hill was kind enough to set up and yourself, we have work to do. Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Seems like they're market makers.
I would yield to the gentleman from Michigan.
Thank you, and I can get my China question in, so I appreciate my colleague doing that. I want to talk a little bit about the international financial institutions, the IFEs, such as IMF, World Bank, and they're falling short of addressing key challenges.
It's all drag race today.
So
Sorry.
China, whether it's in Africa or Burma, has really engaged in a debt trap diplomacy. How should the IMF really help borrowers take the fund's advice when it keeps giving China a free pass?
Well, Congressman, as I said...
You know, Neil, watch, because I think they're going to start saying it out loud because they keep tenderizing the public for it.
It is time for China to graduate from developing country status. It is the second largest economy in the world. They are a large, important economy, and they should
We're
no
mad
longer
that China gets
granted
whatever you
status
get.
of
I don't know if you get a
economy.
I'd like to invite you, Mr. Secretary, to continue that answer in writing. And I thank the Vice Chairman and Mr. Lucas. Let me call on the gentleman from California, the ranking member for our Capital Markets Subcommittee, Mr. Sherman.
First, a parliamentary inquiry. Since the last speaker had an extra 30 seconds, can I have an extra 30 seconds?
Right.
I would be happy to do that.
Mr. Chairman, I agree with you that special drawing rights should be increased only with congressional input, and I agree with Mr. Huizinga that we have to focus on Burma, Myanmar. I ask unanimous consent to put in the record a chart showing how the value of the dollar compared to other currencies has declined precipitously since Trump's so-called Liberation Day, and to also put into the record a CBO report issued just an hour ago that shows that Republican proposals to change Medicaid would in one case take 1.5 million people would lose their Medicaid benefits.
I'm sorry, what?
And in another proposal would cost 3.9 million Americans their Medicaid benefits.
Without objection.
Also ask unanimous consent to put in the record a letter I sent to the Secretary, responded to by his Assistant Secretary, dealing with direct file, which means you don't have to pay TurboTax because the IRS has the software. And the response that I got, an absurd response, was basically, well, as long as, we just want to make sure TurboTax makes a lot of money, so we're not going to do that. And I would point out that the IRS could send every American, for their voluntary use, a proposed first draft of the tax return, since you already have the W-2, you already have the 1099, and you don't have all the input errors that come from people doing their own returns. But that is something that your administration is stopping. I would ask you, Mr.
Without objection.
Yes. I ask you, Mr. Secretary, to provide for the record within 1 week your best estimate of when the U.S. will hit the debt ceiling and exhaust our borrowing capacity. Can I count on you to provide that for the record?
Sir, the so-called X date is a moving target.
I'd like your best shot.
As I stated yesterday, we are moving on to the warning track, and we don't want to be on the warning track. And
I would ask you to provide the Congress the best information you can, but I'm going to go on to another question. I represent one of the two areas devastated by the Los Angeles fires. I spoke directly and on camera to President Trump and asked him to exempt building materials from these tariffs. The National Association of Home Builders says that these tariffs will add $11,000 to the cost of these fire victims rebuilding their homes. Can you assure us that in a country where we have a devastating housing shortage in general, but we have thousands of people in Los Angeles have to rebuild their homes in particular, that these fire victims are not going to face this additional cost to rebuild their home?
I will look into that matter, and I was...
That is exactly what the president said in January.
I was in Los
so
Angeles
far
this weekend, and I toured the devastation.
Thank you. I hope you saw the devastation of the Palisades, and I hope you won't be imposing another $11,000 cost on every home builder. Now, as to capital markets, where I devote most of my time, all of us on the subcommittee agree that we're trying to get people to invest in American stocks and build the American economy. And in fact, our tax code has hundreds of billions of dollars of incentives to get people to invest in America. China also has incentives to get the Chinese people to invest in Chinese stocks. But there's a difference. China only provides those incentives to Chinese people if they invest in Chinese stocks. American billionaires like investing in China, making tens and hundreds of millions of dollars in profit. Can you think of a reason why the American tax code should provide enormous tax benefits like the capital gains allowance to American billionaires who invest in Chinese stocks? Why is that in our national interest?
Sir, it's not just available to billionaires. If you were to buy...
Right, so why do we want to encourage...
buy a Chinese ETF, a very...
Why would we be neutral on whether I buy an American ETF or a China ETF? Don't we prefer American capital to be invested in America, or are we just fine with encouraging Americans to invest abroad?
Well, sir, we don't want to close the capital account, and we do want investors to be able to maximize their judgment where they should invest.
Let me go on to one more thing.
I have said I wouldn't bet against the U.S., but
please, next question. People can. Next question. Abu Dhabi and United Arab Emirates just announced that they were going to give $2 billion to a stable coin put forward by World Liberty Financial. This stable coin pays no interest. So you and I are both finance people, just want to check my math. Assuming a 4% rate of return, is this interest-free loan of $2 billion worth $80 million every year to World Liberty Financial and its Trump owners?
Wait,
sir,
what?
I haven't seen that. I don't know the expense ratio, and as far as I know, no stable coins pay interest.
So the New York Times is wrong. Please read the article.
I got to find that story. What did
Gentleman
I
yields
miss? Okay, I got to stop getting so high. Hold on.
Gentleman from Texas, Mr. Sessions, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Secretary, welcome. We're delighted that you're here. Part of the challenge against you
That's what the big announcement is. God damn it. We knew it was the Sovereign Wealth Fund.
The explanation of
you can Google it. The prison is Rwanda's intended to house illegal immigrants. No problem. The U.S. is going to start sending migrants. I heard about that, actually.
Input on that, if I could, that I think that President Trump sees the relationship with China by what it really is, and that is an unfair relationship, one in which needs to be not only looked at, but really something done about it. And I know that while we have PNTR, it should mean that we treat them the same way they treat us, but that is not happening. President Trump, as part of these changes, has changed the de minimis rule, and that de minimis rule
if you
was
celebrate
the amount of money
this administration,
that
you are just as evil because you should know better
under this circumstance. Whether it was looked at or not, whether a tariff was paid upon it, and I believe that there were Chinese companies taking advantage of that. Some 4 million packages a day were coming to the United States, and I say were coming because I do not believe that that rate is still occurring. As a result of that, what happened is it contributed to the fentanyl issue that we had because we did not look at these packages with the same viewpoint that others did. My point in bringing this up is that I believe that with the new numbers of 177,000 net new American jobs being created in the private sector, that there's an understanding by people who want to invest in America that this president is finally taking on the Chinese who undermined not just intellectual property, but undermined with their government, the Chinese government, undercutting the price and manufacture of many products that were American-made. Many of them, or some of them, might be power tools And of course, we know Craftsman is an American-made product, but it is not uncommon, was not uncommon for their tools to be on the internet at $400 or $500, and for a Chinese product to be brought in for $40 or $50. That undermined not just our intellectual property, but actually undermined the manufacturing that takes place in this country. And I'm delighted that you and the President are engaged in balancing that out. And I think that's what this 177,000 new American jobs net provided for us, because it's people who want to invest in the United States, knowing that finally we have a president that will protect that onslaught of Chinese goods, undercutting American, not just jobs and intellectual property, but the events that take place therein. And I think this president has done a great job, and I want to offer my support for that, because I think that part of what the president has done is set a new challenge and mark for Americans now to pick up that part that was before challenged by China. Mr. Secretary, Russia still earns over $700 million a day in fossil fuel revenue that helps its war against Ukraine. And I think that most of us here would like to see Russia held accountable. Can you talk to me about sanctions that are or are being considered against Russia energy firms as it relates to selling their products to China?
Yes, sir. And I will tell you that the Biden
Tom, how are
administration
you?
exercised with regard
Conclave
to
is on
Russia
live.
And Ukraine support
a great way to launder money too, you know?
On one hand,
God, there's all kinds of the human rights abuses are just the beginning.
Ukraine. On the other hand, their sanctions against the Russian Federation were very, very weak. The sanctions were just against some of the lower-level oil companies. There was a price cap that has never worked. On his way out the door, in a fit of bravery, the National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, raised the sanctions because the Biden administration had been worried about upsetting the oil price, pushing up oil prices.
I don't think you're wrong at all, Max.
The Trump administration,
part of it is the new signees to the Abraham Accords
to the energy markets. Crude oil is down about 20% thus far this year, and I read with great interest this morning that Russian Federation revenues were down 12% last month, which will put a dent in the Russian war machine, sir.
Mr. Secretary, I hope that you'll find today valuable for us and yourself, and I hope you'll know that we want Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman from New York, Mr. Meeks, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Bassett, let me, I'm just a plain, simple man, the average, everyday American is looking at this hearing today. So can you tell me first, does trade deficits constitute a national emergency?
The hollowing out of the U.S. manufacturing
No, just yes or no.
Class,
yes or no. Yes or no.
It's a national emergency, sir.
It does. It does. You're telling me trade deficits.
All the reporting is that gas is going up.
Persistent and prolonged.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And do you know also, sir, that for the last 4 decades, we've had trade deficits in the United States of America, and nobody said it was an emergency? Democratic and Republican presidents?
Thank you.
You know what that says to me? That it's not an emergency because it hasn't been for 4 decades. It says to me that we should bring tariffs back to the United States Congress so that we can make that determination as the Constitution has said and not try to go around Congress.
And his outfit
That's
today?
Just unbelievable to me.
Perfection.
Let me ask this question. Maybe they missed it. Who was the president and who has been the president since January 20th, 2025?
Donald J. Trump.
Okay. And who was the president in 2024?
One believes President Biden.
One believes?
What the fuck was that?
You one of those non-believers that the election, the American people didn't vote?
Are you
I
being?
am not.
You're not? You said one believes? Do you believe in the Constitution of the United States and it should be abided
I
by?
believe in the Constitution of the United States.
So you believe in it without any second thought. You don't have to think about it. You believe in it and you would abide by it. Is that correct?
I have and I do, sir.
Okay.
Look at him.
But
He's
do you
so
know that a president has said he may or may not?
Guilty
He don't know.
laugh when they're uncomfortable.
Let me ask this question.
Soulless,
I
men.
couldn't believe my ears. Sunday, during NBC's Meet the Press, President Trump credited himself for the strong economy in 2024 when Joe Biden was president. But then he blamed President Biden for a weak economy in 2025 when he was president. Now, I'm not so sure how the American people puts that together. In 2024, strong economy, he tries to take the credit. In 2025, when he's the president, he blames Joe Biden. That doesn't make sense to me. I don't think it makes sense to most Americans. And I hope, Mr. Secretary, you're a businessman, it doesn't make sense to you either. It can't possibly make sense to you. Let me ask this question. If a government, say, look, Argentina, I remember when I came here, and Argentina kept failing to pay its debt.
You guys don't want to watch the
Not once or
losers
twice or
that
three
didn't
times.
get chosen? Come on. Now.
And we were all upset about it, and we said that they needed a host, somebody needed to take over their government. You know, somebody should help the president of Argentina. If the United States or didn't pay his debt or something like that, we'd be very upset about that if we couldn't pay our debt. I mean, that's one of our focuses. Is that not correct?
Sir, the United States will always meet its debt obligations.
Always. Well, let me ask you this.
Because we're going to renegotiate them to zero coupon
Donald
bonds.
Trump, the deal maker, and you didn't answer Ms. Velasquez's questions. No deals, although he said
We're doing
3 weeks ago that there
100-year,
would be deals.
no interest
But Donald
bonds.
Trump,
And that's what they're going to have to buy.
not once, not twice, not 3 times, not 4 times, not 5 times, but 6 times failed to pay his debts on his business and went bankrupt. And you're going to call that a good businessman? I wouldn't invest in that company.
Gentleman's time has expired. The gentlewoman from Missouri, Ms. Wagner, the chair of our subcommittee on capital markets, is recognized for 5 minutes.
I thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I will try to keep my tone down. And I thank Secretary Besant for your testimony.
Shut the fuck up,
I,
bitch.
sir, am going to try to stick to the actual title of this hearing and why we're supposed to be here today, which is the state of the international financial system. So here we go. Mr. Secretary, under the Biden administration, Congress required Treasury to determine whether any Chinese financial institutions were engaged in oil purchases from Iran.
This is Reuters. Hold on.
No matter how small or how large the transaction. This determination would subject these Chinese entities to secondary sanctions, sir. And just last week, the president himself ordered such sanctions for any purchase of Iranian oil, which helps, obviously, the Ayatollah finance terrorism around the world. Mr. Secretary, can you describe how, well, I think we all know how Iran uses oil sales to fund its proxies, including Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis in Yemen, to the extent that there's any Yemen left. Treasury is now over half a year late with its statutory determination on Chinese buyers of Iranian oil. And I have 3 questions, sir, related to missing this deadline. The first is, why has it not been submitted to Congress? Had the previous administration done anything to prepare this determination? And third, when can Congress expect to receive it?
To all 3 of those, I will have my staff get back to you on that.
There it is.
And
this is from The Guardian.
Wagner, what I will tell you is that since
then she raises
I
her
become
voice.
Treasury Secretary, the Treasury has repeatedly
where's that noise coming
sanctioned
from?
so-called Chinese teapot refiners who are very large buyers of Iranian oil. These are independent refiners away from the state-owned enterprises. We have begun that program over the past few weeks, and we will continue as needed.
Good. Well, and I know that you're in negotiations with, I'll say, that 18th country, which is China. We are thrilled to hear of your trip there, and I hope that this is something that you will discuss with them in terms of their purchasing of Iranian oil that does nothing but lift up a regime that is funding terrorism throughout our world.
Look at her little sailor uniform.
What actions has Treasury taken to combat cooperation between Iran and China on illicit finance and money laundering?
Well, again, the secondary sanctions on these teapot refiners has been a very fulsome effort, and we will continue that. When President Trump left office, Iranian oil exports were between 100 and 300,000 barrels per day. Now they are 1.6 million barrels per day, which allows the regime to finance its terror proxies, not just in the Middle East, but all around the world.
Correct. Yes, and we've seen it, and we've lived it, and it has caused unbelievable death, devastation, and grief, and resources, and loss of life throughout our world. And I am proud that the President himself endorsed sanctions just last week for any purchase, not just from China, of Iranian oil. So I hope that we can get a report on what's been happening with China. Switching gears, in February, several members of this committee and the Senate, including myself and the chairman, and the Senate Banking Committee sent you a letter voicing concerns about the European Union's Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive, or CSDD. This directive, which was finalized by the EU last year, will require many American companies to evaluate their supply chains and end certain business activities not based on U.S. law, but due to UN principles. This directive not only hurts our economic competitiveness, but also undermines our jurisdictional sovereignty, sir. It would force both public and private companies to comply with regulations that have not been approved by Congress, while also exposing them to increased litigation and risk in the EU. I am running out of time, Mr. Chairman, but this is something I feel very strongly about. It is in with the international realm here, and I have 2 questions regarding this that I will submit for the record. Thank you.
They will be submitted for the record. Recognize Mr. Scott, the gentleman from Georgia, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. Secretary Bissett, let me ask you this. Do you agree that the FDIC plays a very essential role in safeguarding our depositors, ensuring prudent bank supervisors, and maintaining the safety and soundness of our financial system?
Congressman, I agree that a well-functioning FDIC is essential to the U.S. financial system.
And on Monday, you said this, and I quote, you said this, that the president tasked you with helping him choose the leader of the financial regulators so that we are all aligned, all regulators, to be safe, sound, and smart. And you went on to list the key positions that you've done that, including a new vice chairman for supervision of the Fed, a new head of the OCC, and Paul Atkins of the Securities and Exchange Commission, and a new CFTC commission. But as of this morning, we have no FDIC chairman full-time. It is now under temporary leadership of an acting chair named Travis Hill. With the president having no current plans to either formally nominate him or find a replacement. The nation is watching us. Why we don't have the head of the FDIC. So my question is, have you not helped President Trump in selecting a chairman to lead the FDIC?
Congressman, I would point out that under the previous administration, there was only an acting chair of the OCC for 5 years. 5 years. That Mr. Hill is the acting, and as a matter of fact, the head of the OCC, the head of the CFTC have not been confirmed, so those are in fact acting also. Mr. Hill is a very capable regulator, having been on the board of the FDIC.
Yeah, I'm not. And you're filibustering here.
We are pursuing
I'm not questioning
with
that.
all deliberate speed.
Have you been instructed by President Trump to refrain from offering a list of viable candidates to lead the FDIC?
No, sir. I am constantly reviewing the list and thinking who is best to lead that important institution.
Well, I want you to know.
New executive decision, because even I'm bored by this, Beasley. But what I've got is a budget hearing from the Department of Agriculture, which may or may not be interesting, but I think, let's see, when did it start? Oh, it started a long time ago. Let's see. Do we want to start? I kind of want to hear who the witnesses are here. Beep, 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 beep. Oh, this is that. Oh, the Brooke Rollins. Oh, I can't stand her. Anyway.
I am so grateful for the opportunity to be here before you and to share what we've been doing at the USDA over the last 83 days since I walked in that front door, and also President Trump's vision over the last 100 plus days. I look forward to answering your questions. Many of them have already been outlined as we move over the next few hours, and welcome the opportunity to do so. When farmers prosper, rural America prospers. And I want to thank all of you for your shared commitment to ensuring our farmers, ranchers, and our rural communities thrive. During my confirmation testimony, I quoted Thomas Jefferson. We talk a lot about Thomas Jefferson at the USDA, one of the original American farmers. His 1787 letter to another original American farmer, George Washington, in which President Jefferson said, "Agriculture is our wisest pursuit because it will, in the end, contribute most to real wealth, to good morals, and to happiness."
Good morals.
I have had the distinct privilege of serving American farmers and ranchers for the last 83 days. And I can tell you that our farmers, and all of you know this as well, you're on this committee, continue to embody the ideals and the passion for America and our land, just as Thomas Jefferson described over 2 centuries ago. And serving as their champion today continues to be my highest and greatest honor. As the 33rd Secretary of Agriculture, I have made it my mission to reconstitute, to rebuild, and to revivify the United States Department of Agriculture. And that includes a budget that reflects the priorities as mandated by the American people in November of last year. The President's fiscal year 2026 discretionary budget identifies the priorities of our administration and for the Department of Agriculture. That means prioritizing food safety, rooting out wasteful spending, restoring federalism by empowering the states to best serve their communities, and above all, putting farmers and ranchers first in America. notably of USDA's $215 billion annual budget. Today, we are talking about the discretionary part of that budget, which is $30 billion. 14% of the annual budget at USDA is discretionary.
Okay, there's the link to the Times article, but I do want to read it.
Of our annual budget, the discussion today surrounding.
So that's the link to the article on Greenland, which I think is an important read. I haven't read it, so with full disclosure, but it looks like it's probably the source, or maybe it's just re-reporting what the Post says. And then the other thing is that 11 a.m. Pacific, which is 2 p.m. Eastern, etc. I'm going to come back for a twice baked because we have Kash Patel begging for money on the Hill. So just know that there's going to be, I'm going to keep going with this one, but there is another bake coming later on this morning with Kash Patel. Because why not? Let's hear him beg like a bebe.
Rounding around some.
I'm going to probably speed this up a little bit so that we don't have to endure. I'm going to do 1.5. I'm a little nervous about that because she's a fast talker anyway, but we'll see what happens. China just canceled all soybean orders from the U.S., 12.5 billion. Here we go, walking down the street, headed towards recession, and everyone we meet, hey, we're unemployed. Trump shouldn't monkey around. He's too busy making $2 billion deals with the fucking Saudis, selling American whatever to the highest bidder. This is really crazy town. Okay, can I just say this is the whole thing with the meme, the stable coin, the wealth fund, this guy or this gal, the other guy. Anyway, here we go. Let's see what happens when we speed her up.
Increase, but mostly decreases in that 14% of the discretionary budget. Our cuts suggest about 21% cuts of the 14% of the $230 billion budget. So let's just be clear on the numbers. We at the Department of Agriculture have wasted no time in implementing President Trump's bold policy agenda. I want to touch on a few highlights here, and I appreciate Chairman Harris, but also Chairman Bishop Sanford and others mentioning this already. Upon taking office, I was asked by President Trump to address the avian bird flu and to lower the cost of eggs in the short term. In February, at the direction of President Trump, I announced a significant 5-point plan. I think I was on the job about 10 days at that point to meet this challenge head on. I'm proud to report that since the plan was introduced, the wholesale price of eggs has decreased 56%, with retail following. In taking on this position, I fully understood that American agriculture is facing one of the most economically challenging times in our history. For generations, American producers and consumers enjoyed the fruits of an agricultural trade surplus. But under the last 4 years of the Biden administration, our farmers and producers were forced to endure a trade deficit that, again, when leaving the last White House, which I was a part of with President Trump, when we walked out, there was a $0 trade deficit. Today, we are reaching more than $50 billion in trade deficit. We'll talk about how to fix that today if questioned. President Trump and I know this problem will not solve itself. He is taking bold action to address our imbalanced trade commitments, and I am working to promote American agriculture products around the world. In April, we launched USDA Ag Trade Promotion Programs for fiscal year 2026, and we are currently accepting applications for significant, in fact, almost more than 4 export market development programs. As part of this effort, I will be traveling to 7 countries in the next few months, leaving Sunday for the UK. I'll be there next week and soon after all over the world, India, East Asia, etc., where I will ensure that our trading partners around this world know that American agriculture is the crown jewel of all American production. We are also streamlining unnecessary regulations and cutting red tape for agricultural producers and industry so they can continue the work they do every day to feed, to fuel, and to clothe the nation and the world. To that end, our team has sought to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse in all USDA programs, including SNAP, food stamps, improper payments, fraud, and programs that fail to fulfill USDA's basic mission of putting farmers first. Our team is meeting daily with our partners at the Department of Government Efficiency to ensure we are doing right by the American taxpayer while also protecting critical USDA programs. Also of paramount importance, Chairman Harris, is the department's mission to make America healthy again in partnership across the federal government and with our partners in the states. We've been taking major steps to fulfill this mandate by accepting SNAP waivers and encouraging healthier behaviors and working with governors, both Republican and Democrat, across this great state. I'd love to get into that if anyone wants to talk about it. The MAHA movement at USDA has also supported major voluntary changes, including our friends changes at the International Dairy Foods Association's most recent announcement related to dyes in school lunch dairy products. Finally, I was proud to last week stand with Charles and Heather Maud, a South Dakota family with a small cattle and hog operation, 5th generation, who endured a senseless, politically motivated prosecution by the last administration over 25 acres of forest land and a fence that had been in place since 1910. The criminal charges against the family are now dropped, and to prevent further injustices against American farmers and ranchers, we have launched a significant effort, including a portal at USDA, where we have asked similarly situated farmers and ranchers to report similar injustices. To date, we've received over 100 stories since first announcing last week. To be clear, the Maud family was charged criminally. SWAT team appeared at their door. They were told their children would need to find someone else to raise them and that they were going to lose everything.
What does that have to do with eggs?
During my first 83 days as Secretary of Agriculture, I have visited 15 states. If I haven't been to your state yet, I'm coming soon. I've attended over 100 events, given dozens of keynote speeches all across the country, talking about the vision and putting...
Okay, yeah, oof, girl. And you're probably married, and that's what always confuses me, is like, I'm single, and this bitch is married, and I don't understand it. Sorry. Lee says, why did the farmers need a $19 billion bailout in the last Dump administration? The farmers in UK are already battling with government over inheritance taxes. Ag was a big part of Brexit. Good luck. Aldenoma. There's a monkey in my bed. Anyway, go, Brooke.
Putting farmers and ranchers first, and I've met with nearly 1,000 agricultural stakeholders, again, farmers and ranchers and producers, as we continue to reorient the Department of Agriculture. American agriculture does not rest, and I can assure you that under my tenure at USDA, that neither will we. I'm proud to be at the helm of the People's Department, as Abraham Lincoln so aptly launched and named it in 1862, at the table with President Trump and fighting for the most American of all Americans, our farmers, ranchers, and our agriculture communities. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Secretary Rollins. And again, we're going to start the questions. And just a reminder, simple math is that if all 17 people ask a question, we're going to come in right on time at noon. So I'm going to use the gavel when necessary for that timing. I'll start off. I will tell you that congratulations on the job with eggs, because I just went shopping last week, and they finally went under $4 a dozen with the limit removed, which was nice. And thanks for doing a job with that. I will talk a little bit about the nutrition program. I want to thank you for doing what we thought the Secretary always had the authority to do, which is to grant those waivers. I have no idea why previous secretaries did not think they had the authority. It made sense, and I'm going to congratulate you on that. You do mention the trade deficit, which is important, is overcoming that trade deficit. As you just remind people again, during the first Trump administration, there was no trade deficit. Now there's a $50 billion trade deficit. A lot of it in products that had been grown in the United States, but are no longer grown because of trade policies and other things. So I will suggest, and I want to thank you for the nutrition, and this committee's heard plenty from me on why we have to get the SNAP program back to nutrition, but I want to talk about one other thing we can do that can help that trade deficit, help our farmers, and that is a Buy American requirement in SNAP. The bottom line is that there is nothing that we can't grow, and maybe bananas, okay, but besides that, there is nothing that we can't grow in this country if we provide the incentive. And the order of magnitude with regards to...
We sent soybeans to China last week.
100 million there, 200 million there to help farmers do this and that.
All right. Let's do a little media literacy here. Okay? Listen, you guys, when you have stories come past you, the first thing I do is Google the story, right? Or DuckDuckGo the story. And when you DuckDuckGo the story or Google it or whatever you do, it's going to come up with like the top results. And when I Google like China cancels soybeans, I get not only older stories about when China did it, I guess in April, and then I get a bunch of independent YouTube channels telling me the story with differing numbers. So that gives me a suspect thing going, okay, I'm not sure if anyone is like where the source of this reporting is coming from, because I don't trust independent YouTubers. I'm not your breaking news. So certainly none of these bros are. Anyway, and then I look a little deeper and I go, okay, well, maybe if I could get like some independent source. Well, and then I find this. So I look for like, is it an institute reporting it? Is it what is it? What do we got here? But this is what I found. And this is, I would have to check these guys too. I would probably want to check these guys too. But this is what I found. And I know it's very, very tiny. Hold on. It won't be in a minute. Okay. This is called Brownfield Ag News. It's brownfieldagnews.com. All right. So it basically looks like this. May 1st, John Perkins. China buys U.S. soybeans, passes on pork. Yeah, some people say. coming up with tears in their eyes. Export sales for, and I don't blame anybody. I mean, I think it's good to do this. This is like exactly what the whole fucking thing is for me, is about how do you go dig deeper and kind of say, hey, wait, this doesn't sound right. Or there's varying numbers on it. Like I kind of get confused by the varying numbers. Export sales for a few key commodities saw solid improvements during the week ending April 24th. The USD. So that to me shows this reporting source has a little more of just like I'm just giving you the facts. I'm telling you what happened last week in, farming or whatever. Export sales for a few key commodities saw solid improvements during the week ending April 24th. The USDA, so that's the government, says so. As fucked as it is, the USDA says soybean sales were above the previous week thanks to better demand from China. And while pork export sales were up on the week, China was not a buyer. Soybean meal now there may be newer reporting, so I want to also acknowledge that. And that's what I would want to do next is there anything newer in the system? That trumps this information, if you will. Sorry, bad metaphor or bad use of words. Okay, so export demand is influenced by several factors, including the relative value of the dollar and geopolitical issues like tariffs and trade negotiations and fucking morons. The USDA's next round of supply and demand numbers is out May 12th. Physical shipments of bean and corn were more than what's needed to meet USDA projections for the current marketing year. The 24-25 marketing year got underway June 1st for wheat, August 1st for cotton and rice, September 1st, blah, 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 blah. Wheat came out at 72,000 tons. Thailand purchased 58,000 and Nigeria bought 39,000, but unknown destinations canceled on 166,000. Unknown destinations, what's that? See, this I think is great. I'm going to bookmark this bitch. But you are my favorite. There were no sorghum. So I think it's very interesting. And thank you, Jim, for bringing that in, because I think it just really helps drive the point home that there's so much more to take into account than what you might, I don't know. You know what I mean? Not trying to assume where you found anything. So please don't read too much into that. But I'm just saying, that to me is media literacy, is like, how do we have to dig deeper, which is so fucking annoying. Like, it's annoying to me that you can't like label information. If bros are going to be like, I'm spouting shit out of my ass, like I would put a label on my show saying, this is a lot of opinion. Okay. I have a lot of opinion and there's a lot of feelings in this show. There's facts too. Yeah, we try, but there's a lot of feelings. So, all right, let's see what's going on with, that's not the one we wanted. No. All right, we're going to keep trying to go with this for a little bit, and then we'll see how we're doing. Okay. I don't know. I have no idea. Shooter. Oh, I don't like Mark Wahlberg. I'm so sorry. I can't. He's unwatchable to me. I'm so sorry. I'm like GP is with Patrick Swayze. I'm like that with Mark Wahlberg.
The order of magnitude, if you just look at transferring sugary beverages, I won't even talk about other things, sugary beverages, where the American farmer gains very little.
They're trying
the amount
to
of farm product
fuck
in a
with
soda
Snap.
can is minuscule. That's about $12 billion a year. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much we buy overseas products in the SNAP program, but my estimate is that if you're buying seafood on it, the statistic is that the overwhelming majority of our seafood's overseas. Doesn't need to be, could be here. We could substitute with American proteins, whether livestock, whatever. Let's say it's another $5 billion. That's $17 billion a year that will be going to the pockets of American farmers. It isn't going to the pockets of American. This dwarfs any of the farm subsidy.
Wait, you're telling people again what to eat?
I look forward to working with my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to say, look, it's about time for not only healthy and nutritious products, but American products. When we look at a program that spends $120
Dr. Harris, is that who you
with
mean,
regards
Jim,
to trade
about
barriers,
the gerrymander?
it's always bothered me that our trading partners, we go to countries like Europe, and they'll say, well, we have no real trade barriers. And ask them, well, what about GMO products? Do you buy our GMO commodity crops to feed to your children? Because we feed it to our children here. Are we going to be able to make
Maybe
progress
that's the
on
problem.
breaking some of those trade
Oh my
barriers that
God!
help our farmers immensely?
You just answered
Well,
your own
yes, sir, I
question,
believe so.
Doctor.
Very quickly on SNAP, it is remarkable to me that the #1 purchaser with taxpayer dollars in the supplemental nutrition program is sugary drinks. It's almost, to your point, $12 billion of a $113 or $115 billion program. It has been really encouraging. We've been within an hour of walking in the doors at USDA on February 13th. A letter went out to every single governor in the country saying, "Send us your waiver." Sarah Sanders in Arkansas sent a waiver in. Kim Reynolds in Iowa, Jared Polis of Colorado, some others I'm working with almost daily, directly, not our staffs, but directly to push this forward. And Sarah's point, Governor Sanders, she obviously moved the sugary junk food out, but rotisserie chicken wasn't even covered under SNAP. So those are the sorts of things we're doing. On the trade deficit and the trade realignment that's happening, I have never been more encouraged at what is going to happen. The deals will begin to be announced very soon. Well, it may be private, but we've got several.
So what she's saying, I'll translate. What she's saying is that along with HHS and RFK and his little tour about sugary drinks and taking that out of SNAP, he's visited with lots of governors over the last month trying to advance that. Basically, what they're going to do is restrict what people who are on benefits that they have a right to in this country. They are going to control what people can buy. And I don't know about you, but I thought this was the freedom movement. I thought they were all 1776. Don't tread on me. Don't read to me. And you're telling me that the freedom bitches want to control what you eat. And this is for you, chuds. Because I'm going to guess that there's a few of you who are also on SNAP benefits. There's probably lefties on SNAP benefits, but I'm going to tell you there's probably an equal number of chudleys. So I guess you break it, you bought it. Yeah, freedom with a B, not freedom. Yeah, oops, I did it again. I voted against my own interests. Ooh, baby, baby. You might think I would know, but I don't pay attention. I'm not that intelligent.
Of our cabinet secretaries heading out across the world, not just myself at the UK. The president's heading to the Middle East. Our Secretary of Treasury is headed out. Our Secretary of Commerce is headed out. And we are very, very close to significant trade agreement announcements, to your question. And no one will benefit more than our farmers and our ranchers. As not only we're renegotiating with partners that have treated our products so poorly for decades, but we're also opening up markets. So stay tuned for that. And I think everyone on both sides of the aisle will be very pleased with what's coming.
Thank you very much, Madam Secretary. And the tariff policy has been brilliant so far. That's all I can say is we're bringing trillions of dollars of investment. And some of that investment will be in American farms. That's what's our tariff policy. In the last few remaining seconds, I have spoken to you about solar panels on Class 1 and Class 2 soils. We should figure out there should be no Class 1 or Class 2 soil in this United States that has a solar panel on top of it. That's the bottom line. We have to just break our dependence on that. We talked about catfish processing. We'll talk more with you.
The Saudis
staff individually. And finally, on foreign ownership of badlands. This is probably one of the number one things that when I talk to farmers, they are just incensed that the Chinese can come in and buy our farmland.
350,000 acres.
We have to deal with it, and this committee's been leadership, and I want to commend Mr. Newhouse for taking leadership on that, and we will work with you to make sure that you get on CFIUS, a role in CFIUS so that we can stop that. Anyway, with that, let me recognize...
We're going to bring you to Switzerland.
Sir, thank you, sir.
You can get your dick licked.
Secretary Rollins, with respect to the trade deficit question, I remember very, very, very vividly the first Trump administration when the tariffs on China
True. That's right, Karen. I don't know. I mean, I say people buy what the fuck they want. I don't really want to control what people eat. I'm sorry.
Brazil is now selling the cotton to China. The same thing happened with our pecan farmers. We worked for 6 years.
The shoulder pads are a little much, but I'm going to tell you right now, the whole look,
when they finally did and started shipping them over there, we had the tariff policy from President Trump that put them, they lost a tremendous market there. And of course, they haven't recovered that market.
Mama, close your mouth.
Mama.
Come on,
India's
stop
market.
it.
But let me ask you about the...
May I respond to that? It'll take five words. The reason China Phase 1 did not meet the marks, the metrics,
that's not 5
15 words, is because the Biden administration did not continue to enforce it, sir. That went into effect at the end of Term 1, and the Biden administration and USDA did not enforce it. I'd love to continue that conversation, but that's a really important point.
the farmers were bailed out, thanks to Secretary Perdue, by taking money from the CCC, which ultimately drained the CCC, and we had to replenish it in the next appropriation cycle to make up for the revenues that they lost when they lost that China market, both pecans and cotton. But let me change the subject.
Yes, sir.
I want to talk about the FSA county offices and staffing. I want to ask you about the staffing and closures at FSA county offices. Recently I heard from a constituent that following the first round of deferred resignations, nearly a quarter of the over 2,000 producer-facing FSA offices had 2 or fewer staff as of March 23rd of this year, including over 100 offices that had no staff at all. They also told me that there are offices where FSA employees work where leases are being terminated, but because the lease is held by NRCS or another agency that co-locates with FSA, it appears that it's the agency's offices closing and not FSA's. They also said that GSA was shuttering these offices without notifying the agencies at USDA. How can you assure us that FSA can continue to serve farmers when there are offices with literally 0 staff and the offices are closing without the department's knowledge?
Sir, thank you for that. The FSA office remains one of the top priority. FSA offices remain the top priority at USDA. That interfacing with the farmers is really important, along with APHIS and a couple of the other programs. It is our understanding that if in fact some of these offices have closed, I need to get the list of that because we are working office by office, 4,500. So if you'll let us know where that is and the offices that are, you're being told understaffed. Again, this is a high priority under our deferred. By the way, no one was fired. It was all through deferred resignation. I realize, sir, maybe from you that's a distinction without much of a difference, but from us, no one was ever fired from USDA. It was always deferred resignation. But in the last round, we did not accept any DRPs from anyone in FSA offices or APHIS offices or state veterinarians, the key critical components. But I would love to work with your office. We can work together to address that.
All right, well, that's a reasonable answer.
At the Commodity Classic on March 3rd, you said that today I'm happy to share we have completed our review and released funds for the Environmental Quality Incentive Program, EQIP, the Conservation Stewardship Program, and the Agriculture Conservation Easement Program. Since the delay in releasing the funds was a huge national issue, we expected to start hearing from offices that the farmers had received their money. But we didn't hear anything, so we asked USDA about this, and the department told us in late April, quote, no new EQIP IRA financial assistance is being obligated currently. NRCS is awaiting guidance from the Secretary on new obligations. New obligations of our FSA are still paused. No new obligation of IRA, TA, Technical Assistance Cooperative Agreements is moving forward. So can you explain how this is consistent with your announcement in March that the funds have been released?
We have about $20 billion in funds that were frozen. All but $5 billion have been line by line and unfrozen. It could be that part of the $5 billion we're frantically working to get through it. But again, if you will send us directly and send it to me, who it is you're speaking with. Of course, we reoriented some of those programs to make them more farmer, less climate and DEI. But having said all of that, for the most part, most of that has been addressed. But again, please send us me directly, anyone that has not, so that I can address.
Thank you. My time has expired.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. I want to recognize the gentleman from California, one of the farmers on our committee.
Thank you. Thanks, Secretary Rollins, for making some time for us today. Appreciate you being here. I'll talk a little bit about tariffs quickly. Since the reciprocal tariff announcement last month, there have been several officials that have stressed that how these tariffs are going to play out. We have heard that it could take weeks or months to understand the impact moving forward, and many farmers and exporters in my district have already lost some business or contracts due to trade uncertainty.
Oh, we have some terrible Republican farmers in
California. I'm sure you're well aware.
Not sorry.
Has the department had any conversation about standing up any trade assistance program for the impacted farmers as this plays out?
We have, and the conversations are continuing. Our goal is that it won't be necessary that these trade deals are moving so quickly, and not one trade deal with China, but dozens and dozens. When the president says we're in conversations with more than 100 countries, that's actually true, and a really important point in all this. But having said that, if it is necessary, we will ensure the president has made very clear that he's got the farmers and ranchers' backs, and we will stand up a program again if necessary.
Before my time in office, as a farmer, I used to come here quite a bit and knock on a lot of members of Congress's doors, and I would complain about the unfair trade practices that we used to deal with on a regular basis. So it is nice that it is being addressed.
Thank you.
So thank you. I also want to briefly touch on disaster assistance for context. My Central Valley dairy farmers suffered major losses in 2023 from flooding that displaced families and their cows. I made sure in last year's disaster aid package to include $2 billion for livestock and made dairy and livestock producers eligible for support for the flood losses. I'm aware that yesterday you told Secretary Hoeven and the Senate Ag Committee that you expect disaster assistance will be going out by the end of the month. What steps is the department taking to ensure livestock producers are reimbursed fairly from this pot of money, specifically those who suffered losses from those floods?
Thank you. And if I could, I would quickly address something that was said by
subsidized pricing for
Bishop, we have moved
stores
so quickly
with better quality produce and things.
And in the last Vilsack administration, the average implementation time was over 1 year to move those funds out. So I want to give my team credit for working around the clock 7 days a week to get that out ahead of the statutory deadline.
I would love
and within 3 days, as the applications moved in, we were moving money out. We now, obviously, in the last few months, have turned to disaster relief. To your point, specifically livestock is your question. And I think it's important to note that that's a lot more complicated because they're block grants and they have to be moved and agreed to by the states. But we are very close. In fact, later today at a press conference, I'll preview it since you asked, but we'll be announcing the exact dates that the portal's open, that the agreements are reached, and that the money will begin to move. But basically, by the end of this month, money will begin moving out. I know in New England, for the Connecticut, Maine, et cetera, farmers, this is a really important question too. I had a great conversation with this amazing patriot over my left shoulder yesterday, and we are doing everything we can, I think, hopefully as quickly as humanly possible to do it right, do it intentionally, but to get it to these poor people who need it
Jesus
right now or last week or
I just
last year.
really don't want to control what
We've been
people
dealing with in the
do.
previous administration where they were
I'm
pretty slow
sorry.
getting to us, and the previous secretary was
I
not as
understand that
helpful.
if they have
Appreciate that.
children,
I'm
we
very
want to
supportive
make
with the
sure they're
administration's efforts to secure the southern
accessing
border. Ensuring Americans are
good
safe and
food,
removing
but
violent criminals from our communities is a top priority.
I
I'm
don't
also glad
know.
President Trump has been
Feels a
vocal in
little
finding a solution for our ag workforce and providing undocumented farm
overreachy to
workers with an
me.
opportunity to continue contributing to our nation's agriculture sector.
Maybe we
It's
do a
estimated
better
that 70%
job
of
of
the farm workers are
providing
immigrants, with
access
40%
and then
being undocumented. And we
eliminating
need to
food
work together to
deserts.
ensure
I
our
mean, have you
agricultural
been in a
economy continues to
food
thrive.
desert?
What
I have
involvement
spent
has
a lot
USDA
of
had with
time
the administration to craft
in
immigration
those
policies that keep these
areas
facts in mind?
doing after-school
If
programming
you
and
missed
other
it, I believe it
things.
was a very important moment in not our last cabinet meeting, but the one before.
You have
we've had 5 cabinet meetings, which is sort
maybe
of
a
stunning if you think about it,
convenience
just a couple of
store
months. But the one before, the president himself brought up this issue, and he and I have
to
talked
get
about it
what
at
you
length from the
need.
first administration to
You
this
don't
one.
have a grocery
and
store.
he is very,
You realize
very
how many
resolute that we
places
have to
don't
fix the
have
labor
grocery
issue.
stores?
And obviously, we needed to secure the border.
Wait, I think that's really important. Do people realize there are amazing amounts of food deserts throughout the country? And there are so many places. Yeah, I spent time doing some after-school programming around Southeast DC and Anacostia and things like places like that. And I'm going to tell you, there's just so many areas that have no easy access to an actual grocery store. That all they have is convenience stores, or whatever, check cashing, like all those things. And rural American food deserts as well. So, I really think that is something this bitch could address. How do we actually make it easier for people to access healthy foods? And, why Whole Foods or someone, why doesn't Whole Foods go ahead and, Whole Foods should go ahead and subsidize EBT purchases so that people can go to Whole Foods and, rock their socks off. So, you know what I mean? Like, why don't we actually make it easier to have access for everyone? I know why we don't. But food deserts are a really critical issue. And that's something that public-private partnerships could really help with. Or you could build co-ops within communities. You know what I mean? There's just there's so many potential solutions. Oh yeah, like USAID. Oops. Yeah, I wonder what the fallout is from that. I don't feel like I have a good grasp on the fallout from that. Okay, I'm sorry. I do want to continue with some of this, at least for a little bit.
Border first, that has been done. But in that cabinet meeting, he himself lined out how we could do it and how we could do it quickly. I'm working very closely with Lori Chavez-DeRemer, our Secretary of Labor, not only to reform the H-2A program, which I think is of vital importance. I'm from Texas. I understand very deeply how important that is, but also the larger effort to reform our immigration system to better serve our farmers and our ranchers is a priority.
Well, I appreciate that. My time's almost expired, so just wanted to follow up on the USDA, FSA offices. We've got some issues as well. I'd love to communicate with your office on that, so thank you for that. And then will regional conservation partnership program contracts that have been approved to support dairy environmental stewardship get their allocated funding? Are you familiar with that one?
I'm not, but let me look into it today and we'll circle back right away.
Thank you, and I yield back.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lolo.
Yeah. Oh, Sudan starvation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple points before I get to my question. The proposal, as I understand it, reconciliation is a $200 billion cut to the food stamp program. So it remains to be seen how are we going to really maintain that effort to feed hungry people in this country. The tax on sugary beverages, I introduced that legislation, the SWEET Act, many years ago. It's one way in which we can address the issue of nutrition and food. Let's talk to those who are profiting and talk about putting that tax that can be used for health purposes. I would hope in the nature of nutrition that you would look at, which was taken out before, the cash value voucher for fruit and vegetables. It's my hope that you can support that effort. With regard to the price of eggs, Cal-Maine, which has 1/5 of the market on egg production, $500 million in profits, 3 times what they made last year. If you're going to address egg prices, you've got to talk about price gouging, and I don't know what the administration is doing about that. Let me just talk about the safety net, which leaves New England and specialty crop farmers with few resources to recoup losses, forcing them to make very difficult decisions that put their livelihoods in danger and community food systems at risk. One of the primary reasons that Connecticut has lost 460 farms over the last 5 years, the reason I created the new $220 million block grant, the Farm Support and Recovery Block Grant, specifically tailored to the needs of small and medium-sized farmers in last year's disaster supplemental. I know our commissioner is going to be
There
here
should
a little
be
bit later.
required community
And I know how
gardens
excited,
funded
that
by the
we are
government
about this program, about farmers
for every
excited about this program.
area per
Specialty crop
capita,
farms have a
right?
hard time
Like
receiving crop
every
insurance
area
because
per
of the lack of
capita,
availability of
whatever that
coverage
number
with
is,
diverse and specialty
should have a
crops. One
community
of those farmers
garden
you
that
just,
is funded by the
mentioned is in room
government
today, and that's
and
Will Delacameron.
collaborated
Let me just
with
ask a
the
series of
local.
questions, which are really yes or no answers.
That
Would
could
you
be
agree
so
we have a lot more
beautiful.
work to do to improve our federal farm safety net to better support small and medium-sized farmers?
And then you could
It's
have,
very
like,
important.
if there was a
Will you
neighborhood
commit
where you
to
didn't
getting
get the
disaster aid
volunteer
in farmers'
support
pockets
or
as
the
soon as possible?
inclusion of the community to really work the garden in the beginning, you could bring in AmeriCorps volunteers. That could be their assignment.
To cover, including crop
There's so many ways to make this work.
We'll do everything we can. It's my understanding that may not be enough, that in fact the losses are bigger than the 220 million.
But I want to know.
You guys need to share this broadcast out. People need to know, like,
frozen, terminated.
Well, you're talking about the 220 million from Congress. So are we talking about that or are we talking about bigger things?
No, I'm talking about specifically today. I understand more, but we have $220 million right there now that farmers can get access to it, and Will Dellacamera cannot get the funds that he needs.
Ma'am, it was 3 months ago. The last administration took more than a year. This is extremely complicated. I just said that by the end of the month, by the end of the month, the money will begin to move, which is at rapid space.
Yes, ma'am. 220 million. So by the end of the month, that money is going to flow.
And you know this, that we have to have agreements with every state. It's not that USDA by ourselves sends a check out.
I know this.
Okay, so we are working diligently with the states. Your ag commissioner is coming in today to talk about it.
Right,
so
exactly.
I think I've given a lot of confidence that we're working really hard on that.
It's not about hard work, Madam Secretary.
Well,
it's about the commitment to what was passed in the Disaster Relief Act of $220 million that is going to farmers. And when will that money flow? You just said it's the end of the month.
For the 10th time since I started 40 minutes ago, it will begin to flow by the end of the month.
We will hold you to that effort. Let me then ask about this because you're concerned about nutrition. The real concern about nutrition, which we all have concerns about. On the bipartisan basis, for 25 years, administrations and members of Congress have provided enough
I
funding
love
to
that stuff, Lee, and I know it's happening in so many places. I just think that there should be a concerted effort to really help all communities.
Anticipate that will continue, but will you also commit to funding the cash value voucher for fruits and vegetables at the current
huge
level?
effort.
Well, we'll take a look at that. I'm not going to commit to it today. In the grand total of the vision here, we're doing everything we can, but what's so important is we spend $400 million a day on the 16 nutrition programs across USDA. $405 million a day. So there's plenty of money in the system.
The vouchers, we had to reinstate it because it was eliminated in last go round. We cannot afford to do that because
give me
if we're
my
concerned about
Butterfinger.
nutrition, fruits and vegetables and the cash value voucher are central to that effort.
Well, I'd love to keep talking to
I
you
would
about
not
it.
want to
Thank
be
you.
told I couldn't buy whatever I want. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And with your permission, I'd like to yield to Dan Newhouse. He has another committee meeting.
Mr. Newhouse.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Molinar, I appreciate your deference. Ranking Member, thanks for holding this hearing today. Madam Secretary, pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, sir.
If I could, just real quickly, I'll also give a shout out to the farmers that are in the room today. As a farmer, I appreciate your attendance and attention. It's critically important to us. Also, sir, you were here back in the 70s when the tractors made their rounds. I was here too.
That sounds good.
I was just taking pictures. I wasn't driving my tractor. It's too far to take from Washington State, but good for you. Madam Secretary, just wanted to start off by thanking you for working so hard to get the marketing assistance for specialty crops out the door as quickly as possible, comparatively lightning speed. So appreciate your dedication to getting all of that done. As you know, they're critically important to specialty crop producers, particularly in my district, and I can't express enough how important that is. I wanted to go back to something that the chairman brought up, and that's the issue of purchases of domestic farmland by foreign countries, particularly China. I should thank you for your staunch support of American farmers in that sentence, but farmland purchases by the CCP, as you've noted, has increased substantially over the past decade. And I guess my question summarized was just if you have any updates, can you fill us in on some of the conversations that you're having and directions that you're taking in order to stop this really concerning trend that we're seeing?
That's right. I think it's clearly bipartisan. It's not one side or the other. Sure. In the great pause, which I call the time between Trump 1 and Trump 2, I actually worked very, a lot of time on this China purchasing of farmland and working with the states. And then Governor Kristi Noem of South Dakota, Governor Sarah Sanders of Arkansas, Governor Glenn Youngkin of Virginia, and currently working with other governors around the country because they can address it at the state level too. So while we are building out the federal solution, and sir, to your question, we are building out the federal solution. I'll be making an announcement on that in the next couple of weeks of what that looks like and would love your help and any others that are interested in that issue specifically. We do need to have an all-of-government approach to this. It is a national security issue of the greatest priority from my perspective. And so working with the states, ensuring they're getting what they need to pass the legislation. And again, 3 states already have, but having a federally driven effort is of key importance and a priority for us.
As a member of the Select Committee on China and sitting right next to the chairman of the Select Committee on China, that's really good to hear that.
Calm down, sir, with your mic.
Switching, a little feedback here, switching to agricultural research, in the state of Washington, we grow over 300 different kinds of specialty crops. We're #1 producer of apples. Maybe you've heard of Washington apples, hops, blueberries, sweet cherries, a diverse range of crops that are so important to our agricultural economy. Innovation is what truly supports our nation's farmers there. And so I just wanted to bring up the issue of the cutting edge research that we're very fortunate to have through Washington State University, Pacific Northwest National Laboratory, Bioproducts Science and Engineering Laboratory. So I just wanted to, I guess, Secretary Rollins, ask you about USDA's continued support.
Every time he says Rollins, I think of Henry Rollins.
Well, and a shout out to Washington State. I would love to come visit.
Have canning parties. I know I would love
that.
I know, I'm a product of a land grant, Texas A&M, so I really realize their importance. Just very quickly on ARS, hopefully to provide some confidence, we remain very committed to the cutting edge research at USDA. Of the $160 million that is being cut, but I want to put in context for you. The current budget is $2.1 billion. We're taking that down to $1.9 billion. That's just a 7% decrease, and it is specifically focused on underutilized and out of date a handful of facilities around the country. So that is not an across-the-board cut. We'll continue to focus with everything we have on important research.
Cool. In the 30 seconds I have left, I just wanted to underscore, Mr. Valadino brought up the issue of ag labor. I think this is an opportune time, but like you mentioned, the president's comments are very positive. I think we've got a commitment on both sides of the aisle to move forward with that reforms that needed H-2A visa program. So we'd love to have your commitment there. And then also just learning about some of the issues with the potential infestation of the screwworm that's coming up from down south, and look forward to working with you on whatever we can do to stop that pest from entering the United States.
Thank you, Jane.
As you know, I've been very, very clear with the country of Mexico on the importance of their partnership. We maybe weren't getting as much as we needed. And just yesterday, the Secretary of Agriculture of Mexico flew to Washington, and we had a very productive conversation on that specific issue. I've already visited in South Texas and other areas where it's really, it would be devastating for our livestock. So we're on it and hopefully are able to solve for it.
Great. Again, thank you.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman.
Thank you very much.
And
And
Mr.
I'll
Wooler.
recognize the gentlelady from Maine who probably has a different opinion on blueberries from Washington than the gentleman from Washington.
Blueberry battles.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you for understanding the supremacy of Maine blueberries, which I've proven to the committee many times. If you're around, I bring in blueberry pies every year to the Appropriates Committee so that they can taste the qualitative difference in our blueberries.
I love it. I love it.
Secretary Rollins, thank you so much for being with us here today. I appreciate your time. I had a chance to watch the Senate hearing yesterday online, and was very pleased to hear your exchange with Senator
remember when
Collins
she got,
about the PFAS issue. I hope you will bring your mother to visit us. I'm excited to hear
Portland.
she's a PFAS Texas legislator who came because of PFAS.
Yes.
So I know we'll be talking about that much more, but thank you for that. Thank you also during that committee for hearing your commitment to staying in touch with us. You have to understand that one of the big challenges for us in this unconventional cutting phase of this administration is cuts have been made through the DOJ, not through the USDA. We normally would have rescissions or RIFs, so we would have far more information to deal with. That's why many of the questions are before you today. So I hope you will keep up that commitment to stay in touch with the House as well as the Senate. Those are very important conversations that we have with you. I also noticed that many of my colleagues talked about the LFPA program, and I just want to clear up a few of my concerns. I'm really devastated to see this program be cut. That was such an important way to get more healthy fruits and vegetables into our school lunch and to our feeding programs for people in our food banks. My understanding, one of the arguments that you made is it's a COVID-era program. I was there when we put together this program. Well, that was because we had empty shelves and problems with our supply chain. The COVID taught us you can't depend on international and national travel, that you need to buy more locally. So this was an important program to turn to our local farmers and how we would change some of the ways to support small to medium-sized farmers, which I've heard you commit to. The fact is, in our state, we don't have a lot of money sitting around. Of the 2.6 million, we only have 164,000. So saying that this money is sitting around, I don't know what's wrong with the other states. For some of them, I think it's the reimbursement process. It takes many months to get the invoices out there. Also, it takes a while to develop these relationships with farmers. But now that they have them, we're going to lose them when you cut down this program. It's CCC funding. I know that's often controversial, but I am worried that you're taking back the CCC money because there's only less than $5 billion in there, and last time Trump had to pay out $29 billion, President Trump did, on the tariffs. So those tariffs are costly, and I don't want to see this money just going to pay off bad tariffs. I'm excited to hear you got some good information coming on that. But I want to clear up any misconceptions there. Farmers are mad that their contracts were cut. We had our first tractor rally in the state capitol in Maine, and farmers were showing up because they weren't getting their REAP grants, they weren't getting their EQIP grants, but they were mad about those broken contracts, and our state is worried about losing those relationships. So just want to clear that up. Also with the RCPP program, I know you're working to get that money out, and I heard you say to Jean Shaheen yesterday you're going to check on one of her programs. I got $15.5 million out to our wild blueberry growers for the impacts of climate change. We can pretend it's not real, but we have extreme drought in our state, and that money is going 75% to farmers, 25% to engineers. So if you could check on that.
What's the name of it again?
It's the RCPP grant for Maine wild blueberries, $15.5 million, and happy to send a pie so you know how delicious those blueberries are.
Might be
Staffing
necessary.
cuts. I'm sorry I'm talking so fast, but I have so much to say. We are very worried about our local offices. I know that you say staffing cuts were voluntary. Well, we got rid of all the probationary employees. Then we were told there was going to be administrative review. Some of them would come back, some of them didn't. Let's face it, a lot of people were out of work. They weren't sure what was going to happen, and they took the deferred resignation. And we lost, I think, 4 engineers in that process because we paid no attention to what their job was in the first round of those layoffs, and many of those people didn't come back. So now we have severe staffing losses at those offices, and it's critically important. I am going to run out of time, but I just want to say most of this has been about the challenges we're already facing. Normally, this would be a hearing about the budget, about the skinny budget, which isn't enough.
All right, there's a link
but
to the
what the problems are that we
Discord.
see going on in
You've
the
got
future. And
to
I just want
join
to
the
say one of the real
Discord.
concerns for me is that you've eliminated so much in rural
must.
development and housing, single-family direct
You
housing
must.
loans, self-help housing grants, rural housing vouchers, rural business programs, which aren't housing but could have a ripple
Oh,
effect. I'm just
I
saying
think I've
those are
heard
severe
of that,
cuts. Now you say they're
Karen. That's a
duplicative, too
great
small,
idea.
but I think those are going to have a huge impact, especially if this administration cuts HUD. I also just want to quickly say you have committed to saying that you believe in buying from
the
local
new
farmers,
normal,
enhancing our
chaos.
local economy. Healthy fruits and vegetables is a big part of MAHA. So if you go ahead with these MAHA boxes, which are also in the plan,
I love
want you to,
an
I want to know
Earl
if you'll commit to
Grey,
making sure that we buy locally, that we put fresh and healthy food in
boba
there.
tea.
You said our food banks don't give people healthy food.
Earl
That's a
Grey
good
lavender
justification of that. But the
boba?
fact is you're taking
Oh,
away the
fuck
program
yeah.
that allowed them to give fresh, healthy food.
I'm so excited about the MAHA box opportunity, and,
I want one
and without being
now.
the person packing the box, it's hard to
Put
say
it in
exactly
my
what to commit to,
belly.
but believe me, I will ensure and do everything I can to make sure those boxes are sourced locally, that they're nutrient-dense foods, and that we're doing everything that we can to help those with the least among us, frankly.
Great. If you commit to that, we'll be anxious to work with you. I'm sorry for going over, Mr. Chair. I tried to talk as fast as I could. Thank you.
And I have so many answers, but I can't answer them. But I would love to continue the conversation, and that's true for everybody, anytime.
We would appreciate following
Yeah,
up.
thank you.
Mr. Molinar.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Madam Secretary. It's great to have you with us, and really appreciate the work you're doing and the commitments you're working on as well. I appreciated your statement about when farmers prosper, rural America prospers. I see that in spades in Michigan, and as I'm sure you're aware, Michigan is one of the most agriculturally diverse states. I represent a very active agriculture district in Michigan. My constituents represent a broad range of the issue, from row crops to blueberries to cherries, apples, dairy, livestock. Each of these sectors has their own unique challenges, as you know. But one thing I've heard from all farmers across all types of agriculture is the hurt that the previous administration inflicted on them through extreme increases in the adverse effect wage rate. I guess you'll have to join and find out. In fact, I asked your predecessor from the Biden administration about that when he was sitting in that very chair and talked with him about fifth and sixth generation farmers going out of business. And I was very disappointed.
Sometimes there's a lot of kitten
gifs.
gifs. Just fucking deal with it.
In Michigan, we're now paying more than $18 an hour for H-2A labor, and not to mention housing, transportation, application costs.
But the links are like
crazy.
crazy.
This is unsustainable for our family-owned farms.
Don't join and give a low tolerance.
And I want to compliment you because you've already been talking with Secretary of Labor and working on this. And I also want to thank your staff because I participated in a phone call with them and Department of Labor staff to discuss this issue. I've introduced legislation, many of our folks here on this committee have co-sponsored it, that would pause the increase in the adverse effect wage rate and freeze it at the 2023 levels, just to give some breathing room because it's in dire situation. But we do need a longer term
I'm amazed at the variety available as well. There's a captain for every occasion.
I believe you're the ideal person to help lead that. And so I guess what I'm asking for is your commitment to work with us on this. And you've already started that process, and we would very much like to be at the table and helping advocate for our farmers. And I also want to personally invite you to Michigan.
I will be there. I'm coming. Listen, this is of utmost priority.
I can't wait to
coming
travel
from the state
on
of Texas
the taxpayers'
and hearing that our
dime.
citrus farmers down in South Texas spend on average $23 an hour under exactly the outline that you committed, including housing and some other things. And then right across a mile across the border, the country of Mexico for the exact same labor is spending $2 an hour, maybe at the most.
I understand.
Our farmers can't survive that. There's no possible way. And
it's
so
all in good
I
fun.
don't agree, obviously,
All
with
in
my
good
predecessor,
fun.
Secretary Vilsack. We've got to fight for every single farmer,
You just gotta
every
push
single
the
small
chat
farmer.
up
We've
if
got to
you don't
open up
like cat
access to
gifs.
get
You
new
just
people
gotta-
into
you
farming.
gotta push
We
that
lose our
chat up.
country if we can't support these smaller farmers.
Upward
And that
pressure.
is, again,
Upward
top of the list for
pressure
me.
on
Later
the
today,
chat.
I have a roundtable with about 20 small farmers from around the country. We're going to be rolling out a policy portfolio
Good
just focused on the small farmer. We've got 4 Amish farmers coming from Pennsylvania, farmers coming from Utah. I think we've got a couple from your state. And so this is a very, very important piece of solving for that very significant problem.
Thank you very much. And I want to switch gears and talk a little bit about MAHA. Thank you for your sharing your insights on that. The role that milk and dairy products play in a healthy diet is, to me, indisputable.
Yeah, right.
But in the prior administration, when they finalized
How much
food
money do you
package
get from
Women,
the
Infants, and
dairy
Children
lobby?
program, it reduced the eligible dairy allotment that could be purchased by a family each month. And it was even more troubling that they finalized this change because considering that in the fiscal year 2024 spending agreement, we included a bipartisan directive for them not to do so. Knowing that dairy remains underconsumed and yet is a source of 3 key nutrients of public health concern, are you open to exploring whether this change can be reversed administratively, or if it can't, will you work with us to fix the problem legislatively?
Yes, sir, 100%. And I think an important part of this is dietary guidelines. Our Secretary Kennedy and I are working on that together as we speak. We got a 453-page new set of dietary guidelines from the last administration. I won't say that we're starting from scratch because I think a lot of well-intentioned people did a lot of good work on that. But you'll see by the end of this year, hopefully early fall, the new set of dietary guidelines coming out from our 2 agencies. And I think you will be very, very pleased. It will be very simple. It will speak directly to the American family. It will support our local farmers and producers. And it will ensure that the incredible product of milk is right up there at the top.
Wonderful. Thank you, and I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
They're not going to do anything. There's
Hi,
no
thank you, Mr.
guidance
Chairman.
coming.
Trump tariffs have been a hot topic this year, and the family farmers I represent, well, they're just terrified that their farms and their bank accounts won't survive the Trump presidency. The farmers I represent in DeKalb, LaSalle, Mendota, and across northern Illinois are hardworking and resilient. They grow pumpkins and horseradish and asparagus and all kinds of fresh produce. And I know that farming's hard work, and they take its challenges in stride. However, each year, small family farms are shut down while the big corporate farms get even bigger. Listen, the family farmers I'm worried about aren't the ones who have lobbyists roaming the halls here in D.C. And right now, Donald Trump is hurting these small family farms. To be very clear, this isn't the same trade war that we saw in his first term where soybean growers were hit the hardest. This one is bigger, it's costlier, it's more chaotic. Secretary Rollins, I know that you don't set tariff policy, but you're responsible for helping farmers respond to it. So what is USDA doing to support all farmers, not just the biggest and most well-connected through these challenges?
Well, I hear you and I agree with you. And I think that's why today we're launching the effort to start focusing more on the smaller farms moving forward. So I would love to work with you on that if you're willing to do that. At the end of the day, I have taken a different approach, perhaps, than prior agriculture secretaries. I think both Republican and Democrat. In the past, it was more of a, I don't want to say defensive mode, but more of a wait and see what happens and then be there to sort of pick up the pieces and figure out how to solve for some of the potential, at least short-term damages and long-term. My approach has been different. My approach is to
Any
be in
comfort,
constant daily contact
comfort,
with Secretary Lutnick, Secretary
comfort.
Bessent, Jameson Greer, our USTR, and the President and the Vice President.
Right, but this is about the small family farmer
Right,
who doesn't have that straight line to any of those cabinet
That's my
secretaries or
point.
administration
But that's my
officials.
point. On behalf of those small family farms, ensuring that it is understood the potential implications
Oh,
and that
really?
agriculture is in the room with every decision that is
I
being
would
made. And
make
as I
a
mentioned
note of
earlier,
this
the
moment.
announcements that are coming are extremely positive, and all of the farmers,
I
but
can't wait to
especially
see
the
what she
smaller
does
family
to
farmers
small
will be
farmers.
really, really happy.
Well, we're not happy yet because
Let's
Illinois
find
leads the
out.
nation in pumpkin production, ma'am. And unlike big corporate farms, our pumpkin growers do not have the resources for high-powered lobbyists or trade groups, and we're not seeing the support. We're not the
Well, I
corn
disagree.
growers are not seeing the support. The
And I think the
soybean-
farmers
because they-
disagree.
That wasn't a question.
Bullshit.
Well, no, it
Not
is a
just-
question,
that
though.
was
We've
not-
got a
You
poll
don't
from
represent
yesterday
the
that says
people, bro.
70% of
Reclaiming my
farmers
time.
approve and
Mr.
support the
Chairman,
president's tariffs.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. It is not just the rising cost of fertilizer, farm equipment, and land that's hurting family farmers. It's the uncertainty. Farmers are the
I agree.
backbone of our rural economy. They need stability for their
Don't
business
interrupt.
and for their future. And right now, they're being crushed by a tariff whiplash, a financial system that holds them back, and USDA that often puts big corporations ahead of family farms.
It's not
When the
true.
tariff policy swings widely, farmers struggle to secure the loans that they need to plant their crops and keep their farms running. Banks then refuse to lend, they jack up interest rates, and they demand more collateral, and leave family farmers drowning in debt while the biggest ag giants take in record profits. Farmers can't invest and grow their operations because they don't know if they'll survive the next year, let alone turn a profit, and they can't trust that the system works for them. But it's not just this harmful tariff policy that's crushing our family farmers. It's also the USDA policies under your watch. The USDA's decision to slash $1 billion from programs like the Local Food Purchase Assistance Program is a direct assault on family farmers. This program supports small farmers, it strengthens local economies, and feeds families in need. Everything that we should be championing. Cutting this program doesn't make America healthy, period. It doesn't support farmers. It doesn't save taxpayers money. It doesn't make the government more efficient. What it does do is it pushes more small farmers out of business. And for what? To help pay for tax cuts that benefit Trump and Musk and the biggest corporate farms for sure,
We've
while
got
the
to talk
hardworking
about the
farmers in
tax
DeKalb
cuts.
and Mendota and LaSalle, Illinois are left behind. Doesn't matter how much USDA spends a day on nutrition if those dollars are stripped from the programs that support local farms. We send billions of dollars to the agriculture industry every year. But where those billions of dollars go tells a different story. And right now, I'm concerned that this administration's priorities are not with the small family farms in my district. They're with the big guys, the ones who already have the system rigged in their favor. And it's time for that to change. I yield back.
Thank you very much, the gentlelady from Louisiana, Ms. Lolo.
I'm sorry I couldn't answer all those questions, but I would really like the opportunity to have a later discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Madam Secretary, for being here today. It is encouraging to see someone with your background sitting in that chair and your leadership. And I would just like to give you some kudos because you recently just named as FSA Director for Louisiana,
Just
Craig
wanna give you
McCain.
some
It took
kudos.
3 months to do that.
Oh
The
my
last
God.
administration, we didn't have an FSA Director for over a year and a
Yeah,
half.
can you
Thank
believe that?
I'll let the team know. Thank you for that, Congresswoman.
It means a lot to our farmers. And I'd like to also give you kudos for ECAP. To get that funding to our small farmers. I had a small farmer call me last night and say because that money came in so quickly that it saved his farm. He was able to get the funding that he needed and the credit that he needed to be able to plant again. He was a small farmer. It saved his farm because of your leadership. Thank you. Also, I want to thank you for continuing to spread your message across the country.
Why is
And I know you haven't made it to
everyone's mic
Louisiana
so
yet. We are
fucking
so
hot?
excited to have you there to deliver your keynote speech.
I
and
just
your
wanna-
vision
I'm
for
really
what,
grateful, and I
agriculture
just
will
wanna-
look like
I
through
just wanna-
USDA and how we will
I just
partner
wanna-
together in Congress
wanna
and work
lick your
together
face.
to deliver for our farmers. So my first question is an absolute softball
Yeah,
question
so
to
does
you,
my
but
farmer's
if
market.
in the meantime, I can share with those concerned farmers who had to endure the great pause, as you call it, and have had a really rough last 4 years. What can you share with them right now that I can go back and
cool,
also
Peace
tell
Love.
them until you make it to Louisiana to deliver those keynote addresses?
Yeah,
Well,
I'm gonna
thank you for
keep
that, and
the
thank you for the shout out to
fucking-
the
I'm
team.
gonna
I
keep
give too
that
much credit.
fucking
I think
thing
they
up
have been, or they still
until
have
we
been
get
behind
a
me. It's
new
just been
Pope,
extraordinary. So I so
Teresa.
appreciate that. It has been a 7-day-a-week, 18, 20-hour a day effort for a couple of months.
Okay,
What I would
really
say is
don't
this,
need
that
to hear
the American
this.
agriculture economy is suffering perhaps like never before with a $50 billion
Let's go
trade
back
deficit.
Mr. Chair,
to-
thank you, Secretary, for being
We're
here.
going to the Democrats.
So I represent Southwest Washington. We're a big shellfish,
Yeah.
timber.
Does it do-
and we
does it
have
help
a
your
lot of small
constituents?
and very small
His house?
farms, average size is about 60 acres, filberts, blueberries, some dairy still. And it is in many ways like we have persisted in these smaller farms not being consolidated, people really working to try to get food to their communities. And I guess one of the things that I've heard from some of my shellfish growers, they've suffered terribly under a regulatory burden, doing anything in water, right? It's been difficult for them. But during these reductions in force, during the Doge, what they told me was that, look, they fired the guy that does our water quality testing, but they still have somebody tweeting. They still have a comms director. Like, could you talk to me about how you're, who is this? Like, where are we going?
Right. No, I would be happy to. And in fact, I'm so excited to use my chart. I wasn't sure I was going to get to use that, but I think it's important. My handy dandy chart here. When we left, before the last administration came in, USDA was staffed at about 97,000 employees. In the last 4 years, when we came back, we were closer to 113,000 employees. So the staffing up in the last administration, using mostly IRA and IIJA funding, the infrastructure and the Inflation Reduction Act money that was supposed to be spent over 10 years, was actually under Secretary Vilsack infused in a massive amount as the staffing up happened. And you can see it was absolutely unsustainable. We don't and can't keep up the money. To answer your question, though, to be fair, on the FSA side and the specific offices, we are going office by office. So if you and if your farmers are in a position where you've got a comms person, but you don't have anyone that's interacting with those farmers, would you please let us know and let us work to solve for that? I think that as we move forward, the intentionality of what we are doing becomes more hyper-focused on those priority areas, as I mentioned at the beginning of the hearing, and that's important.
It does feel to a lot of us like it is not addressing this balance of work boots to clipboards, of spreadsheets to work boots.
Well, that's why we need your partnership.
And people say, well, I don't know why these loggers can't trust the science. Well, because in living memory, we were told to bring a bulldozer to the stream beds, take all the woody debris out, and now they're helicoptering in root wads when we don't have air conditioning in our schools, when we haven't had SRS reauthorized.
Yeah.
They're firing all the paraeducators. They're still tweeting
well, no one's been fired, but I hear you. And these are the sort of stories that we need to hear, and that would be really, really helpful. And I know we've worked on timber a lot, which hopefully your smaller timber guys can feel some positivity from that, but would love to continue that conversation.
We have fought hard, and one of the most haunting memories I have from being, I used to run an auto repair shop. This is new to me. And the most haunting memory was I was a farmer. He's like a grown man, like crying, starting to cry.
Right.
Like, I don't know if I can get this farm to the 5th generation. And like the suicide rate, like I think there's a lot of useless metrics, and I think one metric I would really ask you to focus on is the suicide rate
Mental
going
health.
down. It's 3.5 times higher than any other population.
Why does Brooke need to talk through everybody's
doing?
question?
Other than veterans,
consolidation-
you're right. Our veterans and our farmers.
It's profound, and I think what I hear is that why is it so difficult for me to just sell food to the school? My smaller schools, they can't go through the regulatory burden of getting in those programs. What my farmers want is guaranteed market access. They want to be able to know that they can grow real food and bring it to our schools. And a lot of these programs, we're starting to crack that door open. And as you're rebuilding, like the bigger question has to be, like, can people just do the thing that's right? Are we empowering our farmers to stand up to the consolidation, to stand up to the foreign land ownership, and just be able to sell food to their schools?
I agree. I agree with that. Really quickly, though, on the local food, because I think it's important that when that money was pulled back, your state of Washington has $7 million of $11 million left in that fund. And so part of the reason that was really became a conversation piece and a part of the decision making is because many of the states, not Maine, but many of the states had so much money left, they couldn't spend it quickly enough. And so while we're looking at the $405 million a day we're spending in nutrition just from USDA, there's got to be a better way to balance the.
Wait. You're telling me that states have had money towards this type of programming and it hasn't been spent? I realize I would need to do more digging on this, but as someone who ran a school and actually tried to change the school food program for my high school and bring in healthy snacks, I couldn't do it because we didn't have the refrigeration. And we couldn't use the public schools cafeteria to store because, there's only so much space. So I was there for 4 years, and in my 4 years, I was unable to establish a healthy foods snack program. I wasn't even trying to change the meal program yet. I was just trying to find a vendor who would do fresh snacks so that I could give kids something in the morning, because that was what the problem, I needed something for these kids to eat mid-morning, right? Because a lot of them don't eat breakfast, or they have a lot of sugary, quick access foods in the morning. They would come to school, and about 10:30 in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, there's like this incredible, like just anecdotally, but there's this incredible energy dip, right? And so like third period became like whatever, like we really need. And so I tried to incorporate, and we did eventually just buy some of our own like cereal bars, and that became the snack time. So we did it out of the budget, and it was something at least, but it wasn't what I wanted, which was fruits and things, and some, cheese and things like that the kids could eat in the mid-morning. But I couldn't. And so to hear that states would have had maybe, I don't know what the details of this funding is, but it really would be so fucking frustrating to me to think, okay, there's no way to solve this problem that actually I would have a positive impact on student outcomes. Like you can't deny that would have a positive impact on student outcomes. I'm sorry. Show me the evidence it wouldn't. So, yeah, that's really fucking frustrating. Fuck, man. Come on, states, get your shit together. I mean, I'm all for revolution, and I'm all for, getting out of getting our heads out of our ass, which is how we got here. But for Christ's sake, why are we making it so hard to do the right thing now that we know? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Sorry. Not making any sense.
The taxpayer interest with $5 million a day we're spending in nutrition just from USDA. There's got to be a better way to balance the taxpayer interest with the interest that you just outlined. So I look forward to working on that. Hopefully expanding the markets worldwide will help, but understanding with your local farmers these programs and continuing to build those partnerships with local and state help is really important. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The gentlelady from Iowa, where agriculture, I hear, is a little important.
We grow and raise a few things in Iowa. Thank you so much, Madam Secretary, for coming today. And I want to start off by thanking you for coming to Iowa. We were one of the first states that you came visit. You visited a hog farm in our state.
I'm not going to do this anymore because we're coming up on 3 hours. So I think what I'm going to do is, I showed you that already. The soybeans. Okay. So I did that. The chimney watch. Wait, let me make sure. All right. I'm coming back in a little under 2 hours. I know we have watched Conclave. So we're actual, you don't know this, but the loungers are actual experts on the, we are actual experts on the conclave, on what happens. So if you have any questions about the conclave, you can just come to us because we know everything. Yeah. So just so just want to make that really totally clear. Yeah, we are now experts. In fact, I'm sure people are going to start calling us for our opinion on what's going to happen because we're pretty smart about that stuff, Anyways, okay, let me just get us back to our beautiful. Oops. Okay, we'll leave the chimney up. What the fuck? What? Who cares? But let's get to a little calmer. Sum up the Atwater movie. I fell asleep early. He was the biggest dick. And frankly, at the end of it, all of us were like, well, this rom-com ended great. Yeah, well, basically Lee Atwater, protege, or protege 2 or something, Karl Rove, kind of think Karl Rove, think George Bush, think Dirty Politics, think Roger Stone, think of all of the worst characters that some of which still exist today. And Lee Atwater was the carried the torch, I think, or actually maybe started the torch, I guess, and handed it off to people like Roger Stone. In terms of fucking with campaigns, he was the one who did all the shit on Dukakis and just really was a fucking asshole and a racist, and yet appropriated the blues because he wanted to be, because of his self-loathing for his racism. So he appropriated the blues and would play guitar and was quite the character. He cut quite the character. But at the end of the day, he was just a fucking racist prick who was money hungry, soulless, not really, not committed to anything but his own preservation, and ended up with a brain tumor. So there you go. There you go. And that's it. That's the summary of the Lee Atwater movie. Is that at the end of it, everyone was like, oh, what a great ending. He died. I'm sorry. You know what? People have choices they make in life. And when you make that choice, you got to live with it. And that means you're going to get the criticism. I don't care if you have a brain tumor. You could have made different choices. Not my fault. Not my fault. Anyways, we're going to come back to watch Kash Patel beg for money, which will be great. Not really. I'll continue with Chimney Watch, or as I like to call it, Pipe Watch. Hope Pipe Watch. That's it. Yeah, he never cracked the wrapper on the Bible. It was a chef's kiss. Yeah, at the end of it, he got real pious when he was dying, right? So he was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry for all the terrible things I don't know if he said that, but something along those lines. But then someone was like, "Oh, check the Bible." And his Bible was still wrapped in plastic. Yeah, the moral of the story was rapture faster, assholes. That's what yeah, that's what I got from it. I don't know about you guys, but that pretty much sums it up. Anyway, yeah, he was a dick. A bigger dick than I remember. Because I don't think about him that much. I don't think about him at all. But he was actually part of the problem, obviously. And part of how we got here with the whole media ecosystem and disinformation. He was a king of disinformation and kind of planting seeds and creating narratives. Little Steve Bannon-y, I thought of Steve Bannon when I was watching it last night. Anyway, he's a dick. And we're all glad he's dead. The end. No. Hey, thank you so much, Haggard. Thank you for the super chat this morning, you beautiful, beautiful man. You didn't have to do that, and I will definitely buy you tacos the next time I see you. Pay you back. They do. Cash spends more on clubbing in Vegas than at the FBI. The thing about it is I hope somebody asks him about that. I really do. Apparently, Cash is quite the... Oh, I love you, darling. Cash is quite the club maven. He's out there in his apple bottom jeans, boots with the fur. Yeah. He's going to drop it and bring it back. He's going to drop it like it's hot, bring it back, and smack that ass. That's right. So we're going to watch him try and talk his way out of this one. Hey, thanks for coming this morning. Thanks for spending time with me. I know. Oh my God, girl, I don't blame you. Please sleep late, watch it on repeat, put it on when you need your afternoon nap, all the things. All right. I love you guys. I'll see you soon in a couple hours. No, less than a couple hours, an hour and 40 minutes.